Shabbat shalom, Toria.
Good morning. Shalom, shalom.
Cold down here in Texas, huh?
Yeah. We still don't have water.
Yeah, we had it off and on. We have it now. It froze up a little bit.
They've been out there all morning trying to warm it up.
Yeah, well, we had it off and on. We have it now. It froze up a little bit.
They've been out there all morning.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hi.
Well, morning, William. Shalom.
Shalom all. Good morning. Yes, it is cold down here in Texas and everywhere else.
You Texans aren't used to it. We are. We're not this cold. This is, they said, a 30-year freeze for Kentucky.
Wow.
But I remember when I was a child, Mark, I don't know if you remember this, but we did get down at 20 below one year. Do you remember that? Or at least 10 below.
Yeah, definitely with the wind chill, but yeah, I think I remember that.
Oh, you're not in Kentucky. I'm sorry.
But I did live in Ohio, so I'm aware of cold weather.
Margaret would probably remember what I'm talking
Ohio, so I'm aware of cold weather.
Move this.
Margaret would.
And don't forget, everybody, to control your mics and turn off YouTube. See you on StreamYard.
Morning, AJ.
Wave. Good morning. Shalom to everybody.
Morning, AJ.
Brother Mark, Gloria,
Oh,
Sister Phyllis. Good morning. Shalom to everybody.
Morning, AJ.
Brother Mark, Gloria, Sister Phyllis. Good morning. Shalom to everybody.
Morning, AJ.
Brother Mark, Gloria, Sister Phyllis. Good morning. Shalom.
Keep repeating it. So.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I think there's a glitch in the matrix.
Well, if you leave YouTube on it just keeps feeding.
Yeah, somebody had YouTube left on. You got to X off YouTube. Stay on StreamYard, though. You don't need YouTube back now. Just X off of it and stay on StreamYard.
I'm sorry, we can't interact with the public comments.
Well, you can, but first of all, I would like to say I missed y'all for a few weeks because I had the flu, a touch of it, and I couldn't talk. I had a hellish cough. I don't talk too much now. I'm getting better. Holding my sister-in-law dying in prayer. She had surgery on her right hand for a trigger finger or something. Her hand was swelled up. She's doing okay, but keep her in prayer, my brothers and sisters. She's going to have several surgeries. The one on her lower back, and that's probably going to be the hardest one because she's going to have to be in a rehab center for 2 weeks when she has that surgery to learn how to walk again. So then she got to have surgery on her knee sometime later. But she's in a lot of pain. She's doing okay, but she's in a lot of pain. She missed everyone. She told me she loved Brother Mark and Lou and you. She missed y'all very much. And I told her I would hold her up before the brothers and sisters and just keep her in prayer because she's hurting, really. And I haven't been talking because like I said, I had the flu and I've been sick too. So I'm just really getting back to myself. So when I talk a lot, I start coughing. I don't want to be coughing all over the place. I might stay in with y'all on the StreamYard, or I might go into the chat area. But I just wanted to see y'all and let you know we're okay. Just dealing with physical ailments, as a lot of people are, and let you know we're still here. We love you and thinking about all of you. I'll still pray for all the brothers and sisters on the StreamYard and in the chat area that we don't see. How you doing, Brother Phil? Love you, missed you too. But I just wanted to say that little piece to y'all. Okay.
I'm sure you'll carry our love and prayers to Sister Diane. And yeah.
Thank you for the update, AJ. Let Sister Diane know that I love her too and miss her very much. I'm looking for her every day until she shows up. I'm always looking for her, man.
I will let her know that. I'm gonna call her sometime later on today and let her know I was on here and I told y'all, and they're gonna hold her up in prayer.
We're gonna try something when we do this.
Okay, sir. Thanks for the update.
No problem. Shalom, Brother Tad. How's your mom?
Doing fine. I think she's in getting dressed. Yeah. Just let Diane know that we love her and that we miss her and she's in our prayers.
Oh, okay.
And you too. I hope you get to feeling better.
Well, I'm getting there each day. I do have a personal update for myself. I just got engaged. So I did it on my fiance's birthday. So I just wanted to share that to the brothers and sisters. You know, we all need your prayer. Yami, Koda, hey, shalom, missed y'all too. Love you. So I ain't gonna take up no more of this airtime. Let somebody else say something.
Congratulations. We're trying to get set up here. We're upstairs because the difference in temperature from our main floor to our loft is like 10 degrees. And it's very cold out here. So we moved upstairs.
Yeah, I must say that this is a rare occasion where most of the other states in the United States are colder than we are up here in Oregon.
We woke up with 3 degrees this morning and like 12 below wind factor. And where Phyllis is, it was even colder because I checked.
Yeah, like I said, where we're at here in Oregon, I mean, it's usually a lot colder than in the South, but I think it's 40 degrees outside. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still like about 12 degrees.
I could share the snow with you outside my window, but the computer's at the wrong angle.
Oh, we still have plenty of snow, just not the bitter cold.
Oh, okay. I'll trade.
Yeah, we in Iowa we're 35 below wind chill, so it's pretty cold out.
Yeah,
It was 10 below yesterday, regular temp, and it was in the 40 below zero wind chill, so it's pretty cold.
I grew up in Miami, so I'm not used to this cold.
Okay.
We haven't had any power issues though, thankfully. The Yahoo has kept the grid up here. I don't know. There's some other places though that excuse me, that had power issues.
We have lost power a couple of times. In our area, a lot of people, there's a lot of what are called Bitcoin farms or crypto farms or something like that, where they put a bunch of computers together and they draw a lot of electricity to keep it cold. But right now they could turn on the AC because it's cold outside.
Lou coming on today, Phyllis?
He had to go get out in the snow and bring something in that the post office just delivered with some envelopes, but they're sitting in the snow getting wet, so he had to go out there and get them and bring them in.
Thank you for the letter, by the way. I received it. Much love to y'all. Yahuwah Baruch you. We'll begin starting about 2 minutes, folks.
Remind me the chapter we're going over today, if you don't mind. I want to get ready.
We'll be finishing up our study in 2 Corinthians, and we'll be in chapter 12 and 13, finishing up. And then we'll go into a summary or conclusion and talk about everything we've learned in the epistles of the Corinthians. And then we'll open it up for further discussion. In other words, I'll be turning it over to y'all.
There was a really special message last night, Mark.
Thank you. All steam to Yahusha. Yeah, I think it was special and important, but since I believe we're creeping in on the tribulation years, there's just like every day when we're just getting closer and closer, and you can feel it, feel the pressure of it. Pretty exciting time, really.
I really appreciated the way you delineated the difference between the 1,000-year reign versus other things, because we've been, sometimes we get it all confused. So you made it very clear what is going to be going on during the 1,000-year reign, and I really appreciated that.
Thank you, Sister Phyllis.
Mark, Branch of the Vine asks, after this teaching, I have a question about last night's teaching, if there's time to ask. Branch of the Vine, if you put it in caps, all in caps, he may be able to get to it now if he wants to do that, if you'd like to do that, Mark.
Yeah, I don't mind. I believe that's Shelley, Branch of the Vine.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I think so. Come on into the StreamYard, Shelley. James P. says the stage is set. Those with eyes and ears can see and hear. Yeah, the knowledge of Yahuwah will increase, and we're definitely seeing the knowledge of Yahuwah increasing for sure.
There she is.
Hello, everybody. Hi, AJ. It's so good to see you. You've been on my mind. Okay. I missed everything you said, though. I was looking for the notification to come up for the meeting to start, and I didn't get it. So I went to the fellowship hall to see if there might be a notification or something about it. I thought you might be out of power or something, Brother Mark. But I don't know what caused me to miss the notification. So I'm a little late. I'm sorry that I missed what's going on. My question about last night, and wow, that was such a great teaching. Okay, and I may have just missed an explanation. So if I did, I'm sorry. But I have a question about who the people are that are going into the millennium, but they're still going to be capable of sinning. Because my understanding, when you went into the teaching of the end of latter days, it was going to be 3.5 years of the adversary, and then the wrath of Yahuwah, and then the second coming. And my understanding with the wrath of Yahuwah was the wheat and tares. And wheat, I didn't think was capable of sinning. And so if in the millennium, there's going to be no falsehood or doctrine of demons, or no false prophet and no behemoth, and the adversary is going to be locked up, where is this sin coming from? And pardon my ignorance if I missed something with that.
Yeah. Okay. So during the you got the tribulation years, they're going to be cut short, and the second coming of Yahusha comes, and this is when the first resurrection happens. All the wheat at that particular time is going to be given immortality and be caught up with him, fly away, be caught up with him in the clouds, and come back down to the Mount of Olives. Okay, so at this point we'll have immortality. The only thing going to be left is the weeds, the tars, and then they'll be bundled up by the reapers and burned, be destroyed along with the earth and the Shemayim. And then the earth and the Shemayim will be restored or renewed, if you will, and prepared for the millennium reign. Okay, but not everyone's going to be destroyed. There's going to be people hiding in caves, in the rocks, in the ground. They're going to be on islands. They're going to be remnant, but they'll be spread around. Well, they're going to be collected and brought in to where everybody else is, and basically to the mainlands or whatever, and they're going to repopulate the restored earth at that particular time. As the population grows, it is going to rapidly, because death is almost going to be a thing of the past, but people will still die during the millennium reign. Although their life expectancy will be increased, there still will be death. Won't be wars, won't be a lot of bad things going on under the reign, but they will die, which tells us that sin still exists. The only reason we have to die is because of sin, because of transgression, right? So since there's death, then there's sin. So the ones that are sinning on their own account because they want to. They like it. They will not repent of it, and but they will continue to live a long life, just like everybody else during that millennium reign. And then when the Satan is released at the end of the millennium reign, the sinners, the ones that are rejecting the reign of Yahuwah, don't want to be ruled under the authority of Yahuwah, is going to run and join the father of lies, and he's going to create another army that's going to be like the sands of the sea, attack the camp of the saints, and then he's going to bring fire down on them, destroy them, and take Satan and throw him in the lake of fire where the behemoth and the false prophet are. Then judgment, the white throne judgment comes, and then eternal reign. Did I answer your question?
You did. I did not think about remnant outside of Natsarim. I kind of, I didn't. I was thinking, what does that mean? Like people maybe that were snatching from the fire. And so they're believing towards the end, but not really having lived it or learned it. And, believed for not the proper intentions. And so maybe they were the one that still had sin with them. I was thinking along that line. But yes, that did help me. Thank you.
Yeah, because all the Natsarim at that particular time, whether dead or living, will be caught up with Yahusha and will be given immortality. So the ones that are left can only be non-Natsarim. They can be believers, but they're not going to be the bride. The bride has been chosen, elected, and given immortality. And so flesh and blood will exist during the millennium reign, but the Natsarim will be immortal. The ones that are still flesh and blood is going to repopulate. And during that repopulation and during the 1,000 years of millennium reign, people are going to choose between life and death, just like we are now. They're going to either choose to obey and follow Yahuwah in this millennium reign, or they're going to rebel, choose death over life. The decision's still there because they're flesh and blood. They're still under the curse or the option of choosing life and death, if you will. Okay? All right. All righty then. Let's go ahead and get started here on today's lesson now. Are we good, Shelley? Are you good? Okay. Let's go ahead and get started on today's study. And we're going to be finishing up 2 Corinthians. And we left off in chapter 11. And we will start in chapter 12, which is power packed. And go into the last chapter 13, which is power packed. And then we'll have a conversation about it. So a lot of interruptions today on these two chapters, but we'll get through them. It's just because they're so power packed. If you remember, last week we were talking a lot about weakness, showing weakness. And when I am weak, I am strong. Remember that? And so we're going to be picking up right there. That conversation continues now in this letter. So he didn't stop, that conversation or that topic didn't end. It's continuing on today, chapter 12. Okay. Just as a reminder. Okay, who would like to volunteer to read chapter 12? Don't make me do eeny, meeny, miny, mo now. Let's get some volunteers. Okay, Shelley, go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. To boast indeed is useless for me, for I shall go on to visions and revelations of Yahuwah. I know a man in Mashiach who 14 years ago, whether in the body I do not know, or whether out of the body I do not know, Yahuwah knows. Such a one was caught up to the third heaven. And I know such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know. Yahuwah knows that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to speak.
Oh, okay, let's stop right there. Okay, so obviously this is one of those verses that the circus likes to point to prove that when you die, you go to heaven. But what does this really mean? What's this all about here? He knows a man in Mashiach 14 years ago, whether he's in the body or out of the body, only Yahuwah knows. Such was caught up to the third heaven. And I know such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I do not know, but Yahuwah knows. What does that mean? Somebody.
He's talking about John on Patmos.
Okay, that's a good point. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I think what you were looking for was out of body experiences, because he's not sure if this fellow went bodily to there or if it was simply his spirit that went there.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And William, can you go to Revelations and find where John was in a vision, out of his body in a vision on the day of Yahuwah? I think it's in Revelations 1 somewhere. Anybody else got any thoughts on this one? How about this third heaven deal? What's that all about? Go ahead, Rule.
Yami and I read this practically probably 4 or 5 times. And we went to find like an explanation, and they said that he was talking about himself. Is that true?
That's the general census of the circus. They
okay. That's what I was just telling
they
you.
say that Paul was speaking about himself secretly here because he is trying to get the Corinthians to think differently about him. Now, I don't know if that's how true that is or is not, okay? But that's what the circus says. Phyllis, I think maybe Lou's trying to come on. Is he? If he is, can you guys share a screen or something till position opens up?
Okay, I tell you what. That how do I get out of here?
I don't know if that's him or not. Position just opened though. You can try again.
Okay,
If that was him, I don't know if it was or not.
I'll see.
Doesn't tell me who's trying to come on. It just shows me other people are trying to come on. Obviously, they can't get in. So such a one was caught up to the third heaven. All right. So what is that? What's the third heaven? Go ahead, Toria.
Well, what's interesting to me, it sounds a lot like Enoch.
I agree on that one. I was
I
going to say,
mean, it doesn't say when, it just says that he knew of a man.
Yeah, it could be Enoch. Go ahead, Phyllis.
That's Lou.
Okay. Here he is. Hi, Brother Lou.
Hello.
Go ahead, Tad.
Now, this is just a thought, in my opinion, but when I see that he was caught up into paradise, and then it says the third heaven, I think of the garden that still exists.
Yeah. And we'll get into that. Yeah, the paradise here has to be speaking of either the Garden of Eden, where the tree of life is presently, or Yahushua's. It's suggesting that Yahuwah's presence is paradise, just being in the presence of Yahuwah. No matter how you look at what the third heaven is, we know that Yahuwah is in the highest of the high. He's among the highest of everything, right? The highest one. So if there's three heavens here, we'll just pretend, literally speaking here, then Yahuwah must be in the highest level, or the third heaven. It must be where he's at. So that would be in the presence of Yahuwah, which would be paradise to be in his presence. Well beyond paradise, actually. So it could either be the garden where the tree of life is, or in the presence of Yahuwah. It could be this paradise thing. But what is this third heaven? I mean, some say, I'm just realizing my camera was still off. Sorry about that. Some say that the third heaven is like our atmosphere, is the first heaven. And then the space is the second heaven. And then beyond that is the third heaven, where Yahuwah reigns. Nobody can go there except for Yahuwah. He's the only one that can go to that high of a level. But that again is speculation. It is really originating out of some circuses, you know. And so what is this third heaven? Such a one was caught up to the third heaven. Now it could be speaking about the man could be Enoch, or it could be Yehukanan, and what William's looking for there. But my question is, there's also some teaching that says there's 7 heavens. Where's that come from? Where's the 7 heavens coming from? What is that?
Isn't that Enoch?
Hinduism.
Is that Hinduism? Yeah, I think you're right.
Isn't the third where Enoch was caught up into too when he was being taught when he was writing the books?
Yeah, I don't recall if it says that about Enoch, but it sounds familiar.
And then also it's talking about paradise. Even the Messiah told the thief that he would be with him that day in paradise.
Yeah, but he wasn't, because Yahushua was laying in the grave in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights. And then when he came out and appeared to Mary, he said, "Don't touch me, because I have not ascended to the Father yet." So if Yahushua didn't go to a place called heaven to paradise that day, neither did that thief.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe paradise is the Shamayim.
And I do in the presence of Yahuwah, but I don't, because the paradise, anytime Scripture talks about paradise, it's talking about the Garden of Eden.
Yeah, but when they talk about Yahuwah, wouldn't it be the throne room?
Yahuwah, the Shemayim belongs to Yahuwah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But there's levels though, correct?
I don't see where it says levels at all, because the entire Shemayim is his creation.
But where wasn't it written that the Hashatan was able to go to and fro? And I believe it was the third. He wasn't able to go before Yahuwah. It was a different level. Something, I don't know if it's dimensions.
Well, I don't know what's in the spiritual dimension, okay?
Yeah, we don't, yeah.
Yeah, nobody does. But a demon or a spiritual being is able to transport itself or translate itself between the spiritual and the carbon. We read about they even appear as men, total carbon, because that we could be entertaining a messenger and we don't know it. So they have the ability to carbonate, but they're really spiritual. So what's in that spiritual realm where Yahuwah resides? Yahuwah and spiritual beings, obviously, they can go back and forth and go to counsel with him. They can enter into his council, into his courtroom, and listen to judgments or, plans or whatever, or present things to him. It's in Job. We read about that several times, that they're able to do that. But does that mean there's 3 levels? I doubt it. It could be that the Yahuwah's throne, we'll just say literally here speaking now, that his throne is higher than anything else, and maybe he's in a different level, different realm in the spiritual realm than the courtroom is. You know how the judge always is the highest seat in the court, even in our reality. Could be, Tori, it could be. But this is not, I think. Go ahead, AJ.
I'm trying to remember when I was reading the book of Enoch. Enoch had passed the 3rd heaven. He went all the way up to the 10th heaven. He died, and the Father had to bring him back because all the glory he saw just took him out of here. And that's in the book of Enoch for that little bit of information. I can't recollect everything. I know I read that, when me and Diane was going through the book of Enoch. I have the book. I just haven't been into it in a while. And I know in certain places in the scripture, nobody is in the heavens but Yahuwah and the messengers. There's a level, there are levels in the heavens. And as far as I know, I went to the 10th where Enoch had to be brought back to life because all the things he saw took him out of here, and the Father had to bring him back. As far as that is concerned, the rest was interesting. I haven't finished the book, but it's interesting study. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. But are we to sit here and believe, Natsarim, that this is a literal context? Or can this be something beyond our understanding or even in the spiritual insight, spiritual realm? You know, I want to bring your attention real quick while we're on this subject, because it's a very interesting subject, really, and to Psalms 115. Everybody go to Psalms 115. We've been here before. Let's go there again. Psalms 115, verse 15 through 18. It says, "You are blessed by Yahuwah, who made the Shamayim and Arets." The Shamayim are the Shamayim of Yahuwah. Now, let me point out here that Shamayim is plural. Does that mean there's more than one heaven because this is plural? Or is this speaking of the intensity or the greatness of the Shamayim? Even out of our literal world, our carbon world, beyond it into the spiritual world? Or is the spiritual world a parallel to our carbon reality? Is this what it means, Shamayim, plural? And the Shamayim of Yahuwah. The Shamayim are the Shamayim of Yahuwah. They belong to Yahuwah. It's where Yahuwah, he's the only one that can be there. But he has given the Arets to the children of men. So our carbon planet is ours. The dead do not praise Yah, nor any going down to silence. But we bless Yah now and forever. Praise Yah. And then if we turn over to John 3:13, it says, "And no one has gone up into the heaven," or the Shemayim, "except he who came down from the heaven, the Son of Adam." Now, this is speaking of flesh, because we know that spiritual beings go back and forth. So this statement can't include the messengers, the watchers, or the Malachim. It can only be talking about fleshly humans, beings, which Yahusha was. See? So does that mean Yahusha went up into the heaven and came down from the heaven, the Son of Man, in the flesh before the ascension of his Ruach, going back into the greatness of the Father? These are a lot of, critical points to think about, isn't it? So being that the Shamayim or the Shamayim of Yahuwah tells me there's more than one. So is this speaking of our immediate atmosphere, and then the universe, and then the spiritual realm that can only be reached by spiritual beings? Is this the three heavens? Anybody? Any more thoughts about this, what this three heaven thing is? Go ahead, William.
Yeah, I think what happened was as I was considering that, where he says, "Come up here and I shall show you what has to take place after this, and that thought of Enoch came into that, because there's no mention that I've been able to find yet as to this point where that he went into the third heaven. He just said, come up here, and I shall show you what has to take place after this immediately. And he was lifted spiritually, or in a vision to heaven. So my bad. That was something that creeped in, I think.
Okay, cool. That's what I wanted you to find. So fantastic. Good job, man. Okay, so look, is this speaking about, but he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to speak. William just kind of erased Yahuchanan off the list. We still have, maybe this is Paul speaking of himself, which the circus likes to preach. But are we missing something here? We just read there was only one man that's ever ascended, and he's the one who descended. Could this be speaking of Yahusha? Is Yahusha the one that went up to the third heaven and came back down? And we just read that. Could this be Yahusha that Paul is talking about? He knew a man in Mashiach. He doesn't say is the Mashiach, who 14 years ago, which may have been just about probably right around the time Yahusha perished and ascended and was resurrected, about 14 years back from here. But he was caught into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to speak. Of such a one I shall boast, but of myself I shall not boast, except in my weaknesses. His weaknesses is his flesh. Go ahead, William.
Verse 2 says, I know a man in Mashiach. I know a man who was the Mashiach, or a man in Mashiach. But would that not be talking about somebody who was walking in Mashiach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it is.
Yeah, my first thought was the Yahusha, but I don't know why I stepped back to Enoch. I think it's because of that third heaven reference in Enoch, and that's probably. But it would be in the spirit, so it was unspeakable by men, because in the flesh, it's unspeakable. It may be speakable, but you can't understand it. You've got to be in the Mashiach in Ruach HaKodesh to understand these things that are being spoken.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Enoch. I'm not saying it ain't. I mean, he did not die. He was taken. Where was he taken to? Paradise? Is he in the Garden of Eden eating off the tree of life in the flesh? I doubt if he's eating off the tree of life in the flesh, but maybe he's already given immortality. Maybe he was transformed. Who knows? But yeah, Enoch could be a candidate for this for sure, because he was taken.
What about the unspeakable part? It's not mere words, it's in the spirit. It's people can't handle the actual words unless they have the spirit within them.
Yeah.
They'll turn away. It's too tough. You know what I mean?
I drive them insane.
Yes. So they're unspeakable.
Yeah, very good point, man.
I don't know. That's a reverse.
That's a good point. And you know what? Can we rule out Elijah? But see, here it says that Paul knew this man, and he was in Mashiach. Did Elijah or Enoch appear to Paul and he knew them? Go ahead, William.
Maybe Luke could hit on this a little bit better. Was there another place in Scripture where that term or phrase, was given words that he could not utter or speak? It was unlawful to speak. Is there another place in Scripture where it makes that same reference?
Yeah, I believe so. I can't recall real quick where it's at. I'll think where it's at, though. But there is. Go ahead, Toria. Go ahead, Toria.
I'm trying to remember what I was going to say now. That he was caught up into paradise and heard the unspeakable words, because I believe wherever he had ascended to, there just as the Shamayim, they were taught things that we were not to know. They're unspeakable words, things that we cannot understand.
We were talking about that when Phyllis brought it up. Remember, she asked, "What's that mean? Why is that unspeakable?" Remember when you asked that, Phyllis? It has to be in 2 Corinthians. That wasn't too long ago.
Wasn't it Daniel that was told to shut up the words in this book?
Yeah, Daniel was told to shut up the words in the book, to seal the book. But I think what he's talking about is in 2 Corinthians, I mean. It was only a few days ago, 9. Let's look at that and see. It'd be 2 Corinthians 9, I think, that William's talking about.
Thanks also to Yahuwah for his unspeakable gift.
Yeah.
Number 15, 9, 15.
Yeah. Thanks also to you for his unspeakable gift was everlasting life. So could this be that he was caught up in a paradise, which is probably was in the presence of Yahuwah, I'm going to say, not necessarily the garden, but it could be the garden because Yahuwah visited the garden. And I think that's where Enoch and Elijah is too, and heard unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to hear, which could be the unspeakable gifts of Yahuwah. If we put that all together, is he hearing about Yahuwah's going to save everyone and forgive the world their sins, and no one will perish except for the devil, the behemoth, and the false prophet? Is this what he heard? Go ahead, William.
Just the thought that he was caught up into paradise and heard unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to speak. In 1 Peter 1:8, he refers to joy unspeakable. And in Corinthians 9:15, he speaks of unspeakable gifts. I think you just hit that nail on the head.
This is very interesting. Who had their hand up? Shelley?
Hi, yes, I just kept smiling because I think so. I think all of you guys together are coming to it. And also Tad is asking if he can come back in. But I first started, I was concentrating on 3rd because I know 3 is significant. And I started associating it with the 3rd day, the Ascension Day or the Resurrection Day. And I started thinking about our bodies being transformed. And then somebody said transformation. And then somebody said Yahuwah's gifts. And I just wonder if there's any connection with the 3rd heaven being where we're going to be caught up with Yahuwah in that moment.
In my opinion, no. But anybody else has a different opinion, speak up. Phyllis, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say something. William just blew all that out of my mind. But I was going to say that I think the unspeakable may be related to what William said, because maybe they're actual words of creation that only Yahuwah can speak.
Yeah, maybe they're the 7 thunders. Go ahead, Toria.
I do know, it was just making me think about Adam and Kua when they were taken from the garden and the flesh was put upon their body. When he looked upon her, he said that, he could, there was flesh on her body was the first thing, and her eyes were changed. And she said, I can't hear the angels or the messengers in the heavens singing anymore. I can't see it. So that tells me there was something unspeakable. Once the flesh was put upon their body, they could not see that anymore. It was unspeakable.
Really good point. So that means that Adam and Kua, there was no veil or no covering between them and the higher Shemayim until they fell, and then they became flesh in the paradise, didn't they? And then he robed them in animal skin and kicked them out. Is that not interesting? So apparently they could see And here, there was no covering and there was no veil over their eyes.
You know what Shelley said, it's all everything everybody said.
Shelley, say everything that everybody else already said again. I missed that.
Oh, no, it was exactly what Phyllis said. I was just saying, wow, everybody is saying what I think we're all coming to see now as, yes.
Okay, I got y'all. I'm a little slow this morning. Forgive me. Okay, anybody else got any thoughts on this? This is pretty wild, isn't it? Anybody? Is it making any sense somehow to anybody? Is the Ruach showing somebody something? Don't quench the Ruach. Don't keep it to yourself now.
Well,
go ahead.
I think kind of the point that everybody's getting on here is that there's something that is going on that involves words that are not, that cannot be uttered, are not right for a man to speak. That's the deep part of that rabbit hole, and
it is.
Everybody's tapping on it, are we cracking the nut on that, or are we just kind of nibbling on it, or we it's a deep hole, I think, but this is very cool.
Yeah, I can't figure out. I'm like you, man. I'm trying to figure out what's the unspeakable words, which is not right for a man to speak,
and we can't speak them, so we're not going to know.
Right. I don't know if we're going to crack that nut, William.
Yeah. And he says, no, be still.
So again, if we go to 2 Corinthians, where we are, unspeakable words, 1 Peter 1:8, joy unspeakable, and then again, Corinthians 9:15 speaks of unspeakable gifts. It's referring to everything that's in the heavenly realm. Is that the nut breaker right there? It's something outside of the realm of our existence that we're not partakers of yet at this particular point.
I think, like Phil said, if we're not supposed to know and speak it, we're not going to know.
But yeah, definitely, this has put a permanent smile on my face. I'm not sure why.
And I'm not real sure if there isn't something in Scripture that says that humans can, in the Ruach now, absent from the body, attend the courts of Yahuwah. Okay, so this unspeakable words, which not made for a man to speak, must be up above the courthouse to somewhere around the throne of the highest. Alehim, Yahuwah. So it's said around his throne maybe is unspeakable, for not right for a man to speak, because we don't have the power to even be there around his throne to hear his words. Go ahead, Toria.
I was just thinking, it's just amazing to me how the flesh, once the flesh was put on man, that was our veil. The flesh is veiling us from the truth. That's why he gave us the Ruach, so that we could come before him and separate ourselves from the flesh in the Ruach. And that's the only way, because that's what he said. The only way to come to him is through the Ruach, because the flesh is our veil, and we are slowly tearing that veil away.
Is the flesh our veil, or is the Torah our veil? Is our flesh our covering? Where's our veil?
No, I don't believe. No, the the Messiahs are covering. The flesh is the hindrance.
What about people that aren't believers or Natsarim? Is their flesh their covering, or is Yahuwah their covering?
Yahuwah.
Everybody's?
Well, when they wake up.
If they wake up.
If they wake up, there is no covering.
It's not the Torah, the veil. When the veil.
No, that's why I believe they're still asleep, because they're still walking in their flesh. They're not. There is no Ruach in them.
And we're warring against our flesh. We're denying flesh for the spirit, right? Is that what I think?
because I mean, Adam and Kua knew, and the flesh was put upon them, which they were veiled from seeing. They still had to come to him in repentance, and they still had to separate themselves from the flesh also to come to him.
But the flesh did not cover their nakedness. What covered their nakedness?
The Torah,
Hmm.
the Messiah, covers our nakedness.
So the skins were,
Representation of that.
yeah, outside the ark, right? But that was
Right. Because but remember, their first covering was burned away.
right.
The carcasses were brought to them. So that
So,
I believe would be the representation of being brought before the Messiah.
The animal skin was the Messiah, or the blood was a representation of what was coming?
Yeah, I
The-
think that the sacrifice of those animals would
okay.
be their covering, like our Messiah became our covering.
Okay. So that was a shadow of what was coming in the Messiah, our
Right.
expectation, right?
yes.
So the animal blood was our covering. So we had no covering. But I wanted to point out also, Yahusha talked about hair being covering.
Right.
There's got to be a relationship.
Yeah, and I think what Tori is getting at is that the lamb, supposedly the animal coat that Yahuwah put on them was a lamb, and then the blood dripping off of it temporarily covered their transgression until the Messiah could come and deliver them and restore them to counsel them back to Yahuwah. And so that the covering, the animal coat with dripping blood, is represented the slain Messiah that was coming. And it was all just a temporary shadow until he came, right? Till the day he came, right? Is that what you're saying, Tori? I think that's what you're saying.
Yes. And being that they were able to see into the Shamayim and they were able to converse, once that flesh was put upon them, it was veiled from them. They couldn't see anymore.
So was this Adam then that Paul's speaking about? It couldn't be, because how did he know Adam? Can't be Adam. I know a man.
No, I don't think it was Adam. I don't.
Yeah, Adam. He
I
knows,
think it's either Hanuk or it's Messiah.
but he didn't know Enoch. He said, "I know a man," and unless Enoch came to him and he met him,
But wouldn't they have known them through their generations by verbally knowing?
I don't know, but there's no mention of Enoch appearing to anybody. It was Elijah.
Because it also says here, "For I shall go on to visions and revelations."
I was just reading that, and that's what I was just going to say.
I shall go on to visions and revelations of Yahuwah.
So he was allowing those visions and revelations.
Kadesh was allowing that and giving him the revelations, the manifestation, the revealing of secrets. The Ruach HaKodesh was doing that. But he knows this man somehow. Go ahead, fellas.
I wanted to ask Lou, is there a Hebrewism in there somewhere that we're dealing with where I knew a man?
Or third heaven.
Oh, well, that brings up something that I've been thinking about since you all have been discussing all this. I've been reading a little bit ahead in chapter 12, and it looks like Paul was saying, I know stuff, but I'm a nobody. And I've done stuff, but I'm a nobody. Why I know stuff, I don't know. It's just this happened to me, and I wanted to share the fact that it did happen. But one of the things that I've realized is that as we personally draw closer to Yahusha, he draws closer to us as he promised, but we don't tell everybody everything. And that's what Paul's showing us. He's saying, I'm not telling you everything, but I'm mentioning it. And I'm not going to come out and tell you everything. Because what happens is people start talking and arguing and saying, "Did you hear that?" And then Yahusha wants this thing to be personal with each of us, between us and him. And when we start going around, and Paul even mentioned this, that I don't want to be running around here boasting because this happened to me, in so many words. And I just keep things that he's done. I have seen things, and I don't open my mouth to very many people, but I haven't even told my wife everything. I'm not supposed to do that. We have to know when to zip it and when it's edifying, then release it. But if this was supposed to be plain and not deep, everybody would know. But it's not for everyone. That's just the way I see it. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but it just seems to me that way. And I know that I'm not supposed to tell people things that happen to me because they think I'm crazy. I think the same thing happened to you, Brother Mark, when you went to go see the stone that's behind me. A lot of people didn't get it, because it was for you. You prayed for this, and your prayer was according to his will, and it wasn't for everybody. And you even knew this. You said, they're not going to believe this. And I just see all these things as experiences, that we can share, but only up to a point. Does that make any sense?
Oh, big time. Because if you tell people, well, why, the first thing in their mind is, well, why hasn't he done that for me? I mean, I've had several healings, and people don't want to believe it because they have a cousin, they have a friend that goes to church every day, or what do you know, and nothing's happened. They've had tons of people praying for them, and that's a personal issue between the Father and myself. And a lot of times you don't want to divulge that because it causes jealousy and also labeling you as crazy. Then they stop listening and that type of thing. I guess that's perfect, Lou. I resonate with what you said exactly.
And I too have experienced what you're saying, but nevertheless, it is written in Scripture for all to read and all to know. It's not something that happened to us personally. It's written down here, what we're discussing. And I think James P. brings up a great point. Revelations 14 says mid-heaven, if that adds to the mystery. So I looked at that, and it says, and I saw another messenger flying in mid-heaven, holding the everlasting Besorah to announce to those dwelling on the Eretz, even to every nation and tribe and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear Yahuwah and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made the heaven and the Eretz and the sea and the fountains of water. So this mid-heaven definitely suggests that there's a one heaven, which has to be seen by man. So this is in our level, the first heaven, which implies there must be more than one. Go ahead, Toria.
This just takes me back to thinking about what you both just said. Like there's things that we can say and not say. It just takes me back to when he told them to stop writing the books and then to take what he had and to eat it. It just reminds me that the words in which are not ready to be known yet is an example of what you guys are saying. To eat them up, it's not ready to be known yet.
Yeah, and that's where Phyllis was getting at when she mentioned Daniel, and that does have some kind of a little bit of significance here. If we want to turn to Daniel 12, we'll throw this into the pot. It says, many shall diligently search, and knowledge shall increase. Well, that's the knowledge of Yahuwah. We know that. And down here in the 13th, it says, so we need to expect the knowledge of Yahuwah to increase. And it's going to increase through the Natsarim. And that's why we're being taught by Yahuwah, so we can teach it to others. We're his kings and priests to take his message, his Basora, to the world. Okay, so if we look down, okay, so where is that? Where it tells him to seal that book? It is. Where I have that written down here, probably over here.
Verse 4, Mark.
Verse 4. Okay. But you, Daniel, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Okay. So Daniel here is told that the knowledge of you shall increase in due time. Okay. But not now. Kind of like what Lou was saying. So hide the words, even though Daniel obviously was shown the insight. He's saying hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end, because people in your generation ain't going to get it. It's just going to cause problems. That's what Phil and Lou was talking about. And then he's saying till the time of the end. So then we go over to Revelations 22. If I got this right, Revelations 22, I think 10, it says, to Yehukanan now, and he said to me, do not seal the words of the prophecy of this book, because the time is near. So I think this is the same thing that Daniel saw, but now all of a sudden we are in the end times, and now it's allowed to be told. Okay. Who had their hand up? I'm just throwing that in the mix here, guys. Go ahead, William.
Okay, so curiously, what I see, what I'm kind of getting out of what everybody's saying is that what Scripture says about that to me is 1 Corinthians 2, yet we speak wisdom among those who are perfect, and not the wisdom of the age, nor of the rulers of this age that are being brought to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of Yahuwah, which was hidden in a secret, and which Yahuwah established before the ages for our esteem, which no one of the rulers of this age knew. For if they had known, they would not have impaled the master of esteem. But as it has been written, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor have entered into the hearts of man what Yahuwah has prepared for those who love him. But Yahuwah has revealed them to us through his Ruach, for the Ruach searches all things, even the depths of Yahuwah. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of our understanding. If he wants us to understand it, he's going to place it in us through that Ruach. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head, man. Personally, my thoughts. You're right on. Anybody else?
Sandra made a good point to that. Does not the Ruach make intercession, praying utterances that we can't speak? And the Ruach, the Ruach is the indwelling light, which is Yahuwah. That's exactly what we're talking about here in 1 Corinthians 2. It is the light that he places in us, and that ability to search all things. And if it's for us to find out individually, each one individually, he's going to give it to us, or he's not going to give it to us.
And that's powerful stuff right there, Sandra. That's amazing. You came up with that, Sandra. Yeah, that's also very much a part of this. Good job, Sandra. I know that came from the Ruach. Go ahead, AJ.
I agree with that. And what Brother Lou said, and Toria, because a lot of times, even though we'll read something, we don't get it right away. It is only the Ruach that knows why. But Yahushua does not hide nothing from his set apart ones. It's just dependent, I guess, on the time for each one of us to receive something. Just simple as that. That's all. Thank you.
That's the same thing with his name. When I first learned of his name, I didn't take it into account very seriously at first. And then it took me, I saw Lou's book at a seminar by the Prophecy Club. And anyway, I had the book. I looked at the book and I kind of set it off the side. Then one day I just opened it. And then I was just like, oh my goodness. So it's kind of a testament to that thing, that even though I heard the name or I saw the name, it wasn't the time for me to start to utter the name, I guess, is what I would say. I don't know. It was kind of cool that tells us he'll give us the words we need to say when we say them anyway. So it's not our own accord for sure.
Yeah, and I like what AJ just said there too. And so he doesn't do anything without telling it to his prophets first. And he doesn't do anything without revealing it to his people, his chosen, right? In return. So very interesting point there, AJ, you brought up. And as you all were speaking, I received the verse that we're all familiar with, was reminded of it, and which I think boasts what Brother Lou was saying there just a few minutes ago as well. And that's in Matthew 7. Matthew 7:6 says, do not give what is set apart to the dogs. Now, the dogs is the Gentiles or the unbelievers, okay? So even though Yahuwah is revealing things to us, and I'm saying us because it's one Ruach, we're one body. He reveals it to me. Y'all are going to get it too, or from any of you. Why? Because we're the one body. We're not separated beings any longer. We're oneness with Yahuwah. We're all the same, and we're his body now. And so he reveals it to, I'm not going to say me, I'm saying us. Okay? We all have part in the secrets of Yahuwah now, because we're all one body, and we're instructed by one Ruach. Okay, and there's not two or three Ruachs here now. We all have the same Ruach. So do not give what is set apart to the dog, set apart to us, to the Natsarim, to the dog, or the pigs, or the dogs, the Gentiles, nor throw your pearls before the pigs. The pearls is ours. It's our treasured secret possessions, our treasured possessions, man, the secrets of Yahuwah. So should we reveal this to the dogs and the pigs? Well, we are, because there's got to be unbelievers watching us, or at least watching this video later on. Okay. And lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Well, they can't tear us to pieces. So they can't get to us through the screen, right? But nevertheless, the point I'm making here is nothing is done. You ain't going to do anything without giving it to his chosen, like AJ was saying. So it's extremely good point, AJ and Lou, too. That kind of goes hand in hand there. So we're putting it together here, guys. I think we're getting close to solving this mystery. Go ahead, Tad.
I just had a question about Sandra's comment. Does anybody know where that is in the scripture, that particular verse? Does not the Ruach make intercession praying utterances?
That was in Corinthians somewhere, I think. Where was that? It's spelled speaking in tongues. So it has to be 1 Corinthians 12, what I would guess.
I think William knows.
Try 1 Corinthians 12, Tad. Go ahead, William.
Thank you.
I think Mark's right, but I wanted to show or give one more scripture that shows how we're supposed to have the full confidence of understanding, and that's in Colossians 2, where he says, "For I wish you to know what a great struggle I have for you and those in Laodicea, and for as many have not seen my face in the flesh, in order that their hearts might be encouraged, but knitted together in love, and to all riches of the full confidence of understanding, to a true knowledge of the secret of Yahuwah and of the Father and of the Mashiach, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. Once again, if he wants us to get it, he's going to give it to us. He says right there, with confidence of understanding.
You're muted. You were muted, Phil. Oh,
Who was speaking? Who wanted to have their hand up? Go ahead, Rule.
I might be totally off because you guys know that I'm new at this, but something came to my mind. Doesn't this start like from the original sin when they ate from the tree of knowledge? Because we're not supposed to know everything until he lets us know.
Very interesting thought there, Rule. Anybody got anything to say about what Rule just said? That's very interesting thought.
That was awesome.
So if they didn't sin, would we understand anything that we understand now between that contrast of sinlessness and sin? Okay, they're living in paradise, but he already knew from the beginning that this was going to go downhill quickly. And so apparently it was part of his plan that they were supposed to eat from the tree of life or of knowledge in order for this contrast to come in to bring us back to redemption through confidence of understanding, maybe?
Yes. I say yes to that. Go ahead, Rule.
I kind of also think that I'm going to steal a word that William said, that maybe he doesn't want us to crack that nut just yet, that we have to wait a little more to, I'm sure he has a plan for all of us, and maybe we're not there yet. We're not at the time to break that one nut.
Well, I think we're all conversing fairly well because we're one body. And what one person is getting from the Ruach, the other person will be brought into that understanding and be built up in Mashiach, along with the one that's more advanced. So I think we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing because the time is near. And Yahuwah told John to open the book. He's going to leave it open. The time's near, man. You guys better start getting this now. I think we're authorized to get it, and we need to know a lot of these things. Shelly, go ahead.
Mine's more of a comment. Being new myself, this is incredible to be putting this all together. And I just wanted each of you to know that you're answering a question that I've had in my mind all week as it relates to witnessing to people. I keep having the thought of, how delicate is their conscience? Am I going to put them in a tailspin? Ruach, please advise me, guide me to what I'm about to say, because each of us are here, I think, partly because we just went after truth. We needed to know truth, no matter how mind-blowing or difficult it was going to be to, analyze and take in. But not everybody's like that. And, I get so excited learning all of this. And, I can have somebody blast me with the truth that's really hard to hear, but I'd rather that than the delusion. But not everybody is there yet. And so this is really helping guide me with how to handle that. So I'm very appreciative of this lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as talking to others or unbelievers that are not in the truth, Shelley, then what Lou White was saying applies. Okay. You don't tell them everything because you're going to just make them mad. They can't drink the new wine or they'll burst. They'll get angry and beat you up. That's what it's saying. Don't throw your pearls before the pigs or they'll tear you to pieces. See? So what we're talking about, you don't go talk to an unbeliever about that because they ain't going to get it and they're going to get mad and tear you up. but you can speak to us because we're all have the same ruach. See, so that's what Lou was saying. So that comes into play here between the chosen and the unchosen. There's a big gap. We have to be careful. Go ahead, Toria.
I don't know if they'll be quiet long enough. I found what we were talking about in 1 Corinthians 12, 11, and 12. But one and the same Ruach works all these, distributing to each one individually as he intends. For as the body is one, as has many components, but all the components of that one body, being many, are one body, as also is Mashiach.
Okay. So that sounds like he gives to individuals certain secrets, but he also reveals secrets to the whole body. So it sounds like both can transpire there through the Ruach. Is that what you're getting out of that, Toria?
Yeah, and when we come together in Midrash, it brings those out to all of us.
Oh, good. Yeah. Perfect. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I agree with that, Toria. That's right on. And Shelley, I found years ago when I came into this newness of knowledge in life, I was trying to figure out how to explain to people when I had the opportunity, and not the way I used to do in the buildings. The only way I learned how the Ruach showed me is to keep things simple. We share about what goodness and how Yahuwah and Yahushua brought us out, which is just basic, and the blessings, how he came into our life. Because a person on the outside we understand that they can't understand spiritual understanding, spiritual knowledge, not the world knowledge, but spiritual knowledge is from Yahuwah and Yahushua. And we have to be careful and mindful where they are in their walk. So I just learned how to be basic, even in the ones in the chat area that's watching us. Some might be set apart, just coming out. Some don't know. If they're outside, meaning not set apart, they're not going to understand anyway. I don't worry about them. But presenting what happened to us to another person when they call it out, we only can give them the basics so that we don't scare them away. I just stay with the basics and talk about me. And that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so back, I think we've pretty much got this now. I mean, but there is one more little thing here I'd like to add, and that's in Deuteronomy 29. Deuteronomy 29, 29. 29, 29. Deuteronomy. The secret things belong to Yahuwah, our Elohim. But what is revealed belongs to us and to our children forever to do all the words of this Torah. So all the words that's in this Torah, this BYNV, belongs to us. The things that are revealed from it and given, taught to us by Yahuwah out of it belongs to us. So therefore, we can do with what we want, but we are warned not to reveal it, our secrets, over to the dogs and the pigs, or we could be torn to pieces. So I think that pretty much sums it all up. Anybody else got any further thoughts? Very interesting conversation. Maybe one of the best yet. Okay. Shelley, let's go ahead and continue on then.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a moment where I had to help my dog. Are we on verse 5 or did you guys go on?
Verse 5, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Of such a one I shall boast, but of myself I shall not boast, except in my weaknesses. For if I shall wish to boast, I shall not be a fool, for I shall speak the truth. But I refrain, lest anyone should think more of me than what he sees in me or hears of me. And to keep me from exalting myself, because of the exceeding greatness of the revelations, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Shaitan to hit me, to keep me from exalting myself. Concerning this, I pleaded with the master 3 times to take it away from me. And he said to me, my favor is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, then, I shall rather boast in my weaknesses, so that the power of Mashiach rests on me.
Okay, stop right there. Okay. So through 5 through 6, we can see here that Paul doesn't want to be esteemed. The weakness here is in the flesh, no doubt. Okay, we can also see in here what a little bit clearer what Brother Lou was speaking about. For if I shall wish to boast, I shall not be a fool, for I shall speak the truth. But I refrain, lest anyone should think more of me than what he sees in me or hears of me, and to keep me from exalting myself because of the exceeding greatness of the revelations that he's receiving by the Ruach. See that? So he wants to be humble and be careful, not to make himself appear to be a pious, holier than thou type person. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, I think that's the clue that it's Yahusha, because we're not supposed to boast about anybody, lest ourselves. The only one we're supposed to tell everybody about is Yahuwah and Yahusha, and I boast about them all the time. So I think that's the clue that individual is Yahusha, with beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Phil. That's my thoughts on that as well. So the very powerful stuff, man. I mean, we don't want to appear to be somebody we're not. We're all the same. We're all in the body. We're all body members. We're all a part of the body. So we don't want to appear like we're better than the body, right? Because Yahusha is part of the body as well. And then if you do, then you're making yourself greater than Yahusha or greater than his election. That's not a smart move. So we have to stay humble. We have to be careful. And in this way, we don't want to pretend like, well, he's telling me all these, giving me all these secrets, so I'm greatest in the body. We don't want to fall into that trap. But it's okay to share what has been given to you with the body, as long as you're presenting it with humbleness. And everybody saying that? That's really important. Really important thing to see. Okay. So concerning this, I played with the master 3 times. The messenger of Satan. Okay, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, so he was inflicted somehow. I think it was bad eyesight, personally. That's just my opinion. A messenger of Satan to hit me. So he sent a demon to hit him to keep me from exalting myself. So apparently he must have started thinking a little bit high about himself because of the revelations of the secrets of Yahuwah that he was being given by the Ruach. And so Yahuwah said, oh, no, you don't. And he sent a demon down there to hit him, to keep him from exalting himself and to give all this esteem to Yahusha. So this is another reason why I think, Phil, that this is another example, that proof that that's Yahuwah, that's Yahusha, the man. Go ahead.
Can I share something really quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
My physical training has gotten just awesome, both just everything. And I know I have to guard against this of my thoughts about myself, and I'm very careful. Guess what I got last week for about a week and a half? A backache where I couldn't hardly do anything. And I got the message. And I know, I'm just being honest with all of you. I got the message, and he says, buddy boy, watch it. And so back, and I can't lift. I can't do anything, it's just a whole personal thing. And so then, okay. But I'm not saying anything, and I'm not running around acting, with my head high, but it's in my spirit, and it's fighting against my spirit. So then I'm like, okay, I back off or whatever I do. I repented. And the other day, and I'm not going to tell you how much I did because then it would be boasting. So, but he restored everything threefold. I'm not joking, and I cannot believe that this came up on this, but this very thing happened to me in a physical sense. So just the day is unbelievable. That's all I'm telling all of you, and it's because of all of you. It's a blessing that I don't have anything that compares to it, but him. I'm not kidding you. So thank you all.
And your joy is out there for all to see too, Phil. Go.
I can't lose this smile after we talked about that first part. He put a smile on my face, and I can't even frown. I'm not sure why.
Hallelujah.
Interesting.
Keep that joy and keep that peace, brother. Those are gifts from Ruah. Ruah, go ahead, man.
A couple of weeks back, we were talking about Paul not liking to go in person. So Yami and I were reading, and we came across something where they say that he might have had epileptic attacks. Has anybody read about this before?
No, not me.
I haven't.
Not me.
It was just a question.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything like that because, well, at least back then, an epilepsy attack was associated with demon possession because they were thrashing around on the ground and everything. Remember, like the father that took his son to Yahusha, this type of deal. Every time he'd get near water or fire, he'd go into convulsions. But I haven't heard that rule. It doesn't mean it's not in there. I just myself can't think of anything like that. Go ahead, Tad.
Just making a comment on what Brother Phil was talking about on who he thinks that this is when it says, of such a one I shall boast. I can't say that I disagree because I don't. I agree with him. But the only thing that kind of makes it confusing is when you go back to verse 2 and it says, I know a man in Mashiach. It kind of makes it like, well, are they trying to hide something here? Or is Paul trying to hide something here? If it really is Mashiach, would he say it that way? So, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with Phil at all or you. It makes it kind of confusing for me.
It could be that since Paul's so hard to understand and sometimes he gets in a hurry with his explanations, he could be meaning, I know a man in the anointing of the Mashiach, has the anointing of the Mashiach. You know what I'm saying? He just could have said it fast or written it quickly and left something out to give us a better hint. But don't forget, man, when he says, of such a one I shall boast, we're not supposed to boast about anything except for Yahuwah. Remember Jeremiah? How to boast to Yahuwah? You know, so if he's going to boast, I think Paul's smart enough, you know, that he knows that his boasting has to be in Mashiach or Yahuwah. He can't be boasting in himself or anybody else. He knows that. He's smarter than we are. I'm pretty sure. Go ahead, Ruel.
Also, when he says, I knew a man, he could also be meaning that at that moment, the Messiah was, I know that he only knew him afterwards, but Messiah was a man. He was flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why he said, I knew a man.
Yeah, and the man of the anointing or in the anointing, who is the Mashiach.
That's what I gathered from it.
Yeah, he just got to cut that short. That doesn't necessarily mean that, because he says, of such a one I shall boast. Why would he boast of a man? And in other words, he's putting that man above himself. Yeah, I know this guy, man, went to the third heaven, man. He's like powerful dude. He stuff that he ain't supposed to even heard, man. Okay, am I going to boast about somebody? I'm going to boast about this dude. He's cool.
It had to be Yahusha. It had to be
Yahusha. Yeah. Well, why ain't you boasting about Yahuwah then? Why are you boasting about it, man? Are you saying that this man's greater than you, Paul? That would be my question if he was talking like that. So I'm saying, kind of don't really make a lot of sense. The only thing that really makes sense is this man is Yahusha. To me. And that's just me, man. I had something else, but I lost it. Sorry about that. Okay. Here we go. Let's go back here to this. And it says, so concerning this, I pleaded with the master 3 times to take it away from me, whatever this infliction was. I think it was bad eyesight. And he said to me, my favor is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness. Okay. So this goes back to last week, and I think here now we can see that my power is infected in weakness, which means when your weak flesh, okay, is submitting to the Ruach, kind of like the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak type deal. So here my power is perfected in weakness of the flesh, if you will. My power is perfected in weakness of the flesh type thing. Is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, and henceforth, like me a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
You know all about that, Phil.
Yeah, dude. I'm getting a browbeating today that I deserve.
But in your weakness, the weakness of your flesh, the Ruach's power is perfected. Are you saying that too? That end of it?
I surely am.
Yeah, man. Go ahead, Toria.
I just had a thought. Do you think the knowledge that was given to him was also that thorn? When it says, more knowledge is increased, that the more that we're responsible for?
Right.
Yeah, and you have to, this great joy, this great knowledge, but you can't share it. Maybe.
I understand what you're saying, and I think in the context you're presenting it is correct. But you remember that he was hit by a demon, and it caused this infliction. It says a messenger of Satan came and hit me to keep me from exalting myself. So this has to have something to do with that thorn. You know what I'm saying? If we put
that's what I was thinking, is that because of his knowledge, he was afflicted also by Hashatan because of what he had knowledge of.
I think it was him trying to boast on his knowledge or puff himself up. And so Yahuwah sent that demon to hit him, to make something happen to him, a thorn inside. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has to do with his knowledge, but instead of staying humble with the revelation given him by the Ruach, he puffed himself up with that knowledge. So Yahuwah sent a demon to inflict him with some kind of a thorn, hit him. It says it hit him. So I don't know where it hit him or what happened or whatever, but something happened. I don't think scripture really identifies what the thorn is exactly. So we can only assume or guess on what it is. And anybody's guess is just as good as mine because it really doesn't say. I just lean towards bad eyesight, but I mean, it could have been anything. Go ahead, AJ.
Well, I was looking at that scripture, that thorn in the flesh. We all have that thorn in the flesh. We all have it.
Yep. Yep.
And as we grow at different times, sometimes we can get a little beside ourselves, and the Ruach have to say, wait a minute, you remember when you were like this? You remember you used to talk like that or act that way? I'm going to nudge you to bring you back to earth.
Right.
To keep you at bay. So you know you ain't doing nothing. It's I that's changing in you, not you changing anything. So that's what happened to me at certain times in my life.
Yep.
I had to get put down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I thought, because of the things I learned, I haven't arrived, but I'm better than you. And the Father said, oh, no, you're not. Sit down somewhere. You're still growing. Nobody is better than anyone. And then, just like I remember when all the Talmudim sat down and one of them came up and said to Yahusha, who is the greatest? Is he the greatest? I'm the greatest. And he said, you're all brothers. This is not religion. You're all the same. Just like we read, the same Ruach gives gifts of healing, the same Ruach give gifts of love, gifts of knowledge, same Ruach. So, yes, the Father has to touch us a little bit every now and then to keep us in balance. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
I shall rather boast in my weaknesses so that the power of the Mashiach rests on me. So, do you think that the weaker we make our flesh, say by praying and fasting, we'll just say, does that increase the power and perfect the power of the Ruach in us? The weaker our flesh is, the more powerful the Ruach in us becomes. Does that happen? Go ahead, Phyllis.
I had a perfect example of the flesh being weak to let the spirit of Yahuwah work. Lou was a witness. I was upset about something that was going on. And the reason I was upset about it is because it was going to affect me and adversely. But Lou said, wait a minute, who's in charge? Are you in charge or is Yahusha in charge? So as soon as I let go and I realized it must be Yahuwah's will if it's happening. So my flesh backed off. Lou was discouraging me from interacting into it. And he says, let it go. Whatever they do, leave it alone. And I did, and I feel better. It was a big change in my whole psyche as soon as I let go and let Yahuwah just handle it.
Okay, so just trust in Yahuwah. Stay humble and trust in Yahuwah to take care of your problems, so you release the strength of the flesh and yield to the Ruach. Is that what we're saying? Okay, so my power is perfected in weakness of the flesh, basically. And so we're going to boast in how weak our flesh is. Okay, in order for the Mashiach to become stronger. Go ahead, Toria.
When I see, for my power is perfected in weakness, most gladly then I shall rather boast in my weakness, so that the power of Mashiach rests on me. I mean, I see a lot of what Paul overcame and what his transgressions were his weakness, as I, in my transgressions of the past, were my weakness. And I feel like they're examples to myself and to others that I'm able to boast and give thanks to Mashiach and show others through my own weaknesses and transgressions that I am no better than anyone else, that I could only boast on my Mashiach because of my weaknesses. They're reminders continually that because I humble myself unto him, there's rest, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Toria. Right on, man. Okay, let's continue on, Shelley. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
I was just going to add, I personally don't think that it's talking about weakness physically, as of the body, but I think it's talking more like weakness of ego or attitude, and like you said before, humbling yourself completely before Yahuwah.
Yeah, the flesh can't have its way. It desires sin, but it can't sin because you're keeping it weak. And the Ruach is perfected, and the power is perfected because the flesh is out of the way. We're getting out of his way. We're removing the flesh, out of the way and letting Yahusha have his way and his will be done. And so it avoids the sin. It's so weak from not sinning that it's staggering. It's weak. It can't overcome your Ruach. See what I'm saying? You have a battle between your spirit and your flesh, a daily battle. Well, you start beating that flesh up. It's so weak, it can't fight back now. It's on its knees and breathing hard, and you got your foot up on his back and saying, stay down there in the dust where you belong, flesh. He's weak. If he's strong, you're out sinning, partying, smoking dope, drinking beer, and chasing women. No. So now you know the flesh is strong and the Ruach is weak at that point. It'd be the opposite. You see? Hey, Shelley, let's go to 10 now. I think it'll help us here.
Therefore, I take pleasure in weaknesses, in insults, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for the sake of Mashiach. For when I am weak, then I am strong.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, so somewhere in Scripture, it tells us that when we face persecution for his name's sake, we're supposed to be joyful. We're supposed to be happy because we're worthy to be his servant. If somebody's calling us names and persecuting us for his name's sake, we should give us joy. We shouldn't get mad at that person. We should say, oh man, thank you so much. Now I know I'm worthy to be a servant of Yahuwah. And we suffer the same as Yahusha suffered, right? But somewhere in there it talks about that. So this is kind of confirmation of that. Therefore, I take pleasure in weaknesses, in insults, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses for the sake of Mashiach. For when I am weak, then I am strong. How? Somebody. How does when I am weak, then I am strong? How does that happen? Where's that transformation at? Anybody? Shelley, go ahead.
Just personally, it's making me think, and my walk is not as strong as it will be one day, Yah willing. But there is a lot that I left behind I left behind smoking, tobacco, and weed. I left behind alcohol. I left behind coarse joking. You know, I left behind a lot of things that when it's around me now, I am weak. You know, I am weak in my flesh, just as you described it. I die to my flesh and I empty myself so the Ruach fills me and I can be, you know, around all of that. And, you know, I have, sure, the, you know, what are you, a goody two shoes kind of an attitude coming at me. And it just makes me smile because no, it's not about that at all. And I can take pleasure in people questioning why I'm not participating in traditions, because the Ruach is holding me up through this right now. You know, he knows that I'm being obedient, and I can't do it on my own. It's with the Ruach. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because that is what I have learned is how to be obedient, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Anybody else got any thoughts on that one? For when I am weak, then I am strong. How can you be weak and strong at the same time? Go ahead, Tad.
Well, it's kind of what we were just talking about, humbling yourself when you realize that you can do nothing of yourself. When you come to the realization that, like I've heard you say many times before, Mark, we can't even take a breath. I mean, our breath is in Yahuwah. That every thought, every belief it comes from him. Everything comes from him. Nothing. He's in charge. We have no power. So once we realize that we're weak, then we're strong in the Ruach.
Mm-hmm. So, does that mean that for when I am weak, then I am strong in the Ruach HaKodesh or in my belief? So is it I'm strong in belief and in the Ruach when my flesh is weak? The weakness always points to the flesh. Anybody want to elaborate on that? Go ahead, William.
Yeah, isn't that kind of confirmation of what we come into with the truth? For instance, in sharing my thoughts about the holidays with my family, it became a thorn in my side, but it felt more like a big 10-inch blade. And my brother even said to me one day, he goes, so God only gave you the ability to understand what Scripture says, and you know everything about it. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about reading this together, looking at this together, so that we can come to an understanding of what He wants us to understand, not what we want to make out of it. Okay, and that made me feel very weak at a particular point, but then it started to reaffirm what He actually says about the Word and build that confidence in that. It's helped me to build that confidence in that. But it's a painful experience, and it continues. You know, it's always about the wrestling of the flesh. Okay, so if we fast, we wrestle against the flesh, and we come to understand how to deal with the craving for hunger and other things like that. Well, we have to apply that to every aspect of sin in our life, because we're constantly wrestling against it. It becomes a thorn in our side because we have conflicting differences. We have conflicting opinions now. We have the word of Yahuwah, and then we have the word that we've lived by all our life. So it's a conflicting interest, and that knife goes in the side. He wants to push it back into our side and say, well, walk away from that and just come back to where you were before, because you were perfectly happy and miserable, sad, and everything else over here. But I've been taking care of you all this time. You see where I'm kind of going with that?
Yeah, if I can paraphrase it, I think what you're getting at is, for when I remain in the flesh, then I am strong in the Ruach HaKodesh.
Yeah, it's confirmation of everything that we're reading here. Everything that He gave us is the confirmation in that, and that is Him and His word. not our word or our opinion.
Yeah, so although we put our flesh off in our water immersion and our outward circumcision, right? In our reality, we're still walking in these bodies of flesh. We're still in them in our reality, in this carbon reality, not in Yahuwah's spiritual reality. We are not. Go ahead, Toria.
Okay. To know that I am weak, I am nothing, I am just dirt. But through my repentance, I am strong in his words. In the Mashiach, he makes me his own.
Yeah, that's a good paraphrase. Same thing, just a different way of saying it, which may be heard by others. It's good to do that because some people may not be picking up what I'm laying down, but you say it in a different way and they say, oh, I got it now. Toria's right on. Although we said it the same thing, but just differently. So it's good to get that different paraphrasing going on for the sake of others, for sure. It's not that we're quarreling or contradicting each other. That's not part of it's not what we're doing here. Because if we do, we're fighting ourselves. If we fight among each other, the one body with the one ruach, we're sitting here punching each other, punching yourself in the face. That's all you're doing. So why do that? What do you want to be mean to yourself for? So if you're being mean to another body member, arguing with them, quarreling them, or causing a fight or something, or bad feelings, or hurting their feelings, or whatever, you're doing it to yourself. So you must slap yourself around a little bit, because we all feel it. When one suffers, we all suffer. When one rejoices, we all rejoice. We're one body, united in Mashiach. One Ruach does everything, does it all. So don't hold back. Don't quench the Ruach. We need to hear different people saying things, even though it's the same thing in different ways. It needs to be said because it'll help others. And that's what this is all about, is helping others and ourselves, of course. Okay, any more thoughts on this one? Go ahead, Shelley.
Just one real quick. I'm reading for when I am weak. I'm also reading the word perceived in there. For when I am perceived weak by the world, then I am strong. And I picture that as something that down the road, somebody witnessing where they once thought that I was weak, they're going to then realize that I was actually strong in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
And strong in the Mashiach.
Yeah, gotcha. Good point. That's a real good point. So you're weak in appearance, but you're strong because you're working the harvest and they can't see that. So you're actually increasing the reign of Yahuwah, which makes you strong, man. A strong person. A very good point, Shelley. Excellent, actually. Let's go ahead and continue on then. I think we left off at 11.
I have become a fool. You have compelled me, for I should have been commended by you, for in no respect was I behind the most eminent emissaries, though I am a nobody. Indeed, the signs of an emissary were wrought among you with all endurance, in signs and wonders and powers. For what is there in which you were inferior to other assemblies, except that I myself was not a burden to you? Forgive me this wrong. See, I am ready to come to you for the third time, and I shall not be a burden to you, for I do not seek yours, but you. For the children should not lay up for the parents, but the parents for the children. And I shall most gladly spend and be spent for your lives. If I love you more and more, am I to be loved less? But be it so, I did not burden you, but being crafty, did I catch you with guile? Did I take advantage of you by any of those whom I sent to you? I urged Titus. Oh, I'm so sorry. Somebody else, please take over.
I'll do it for you.
Go ahead, Toria. I think her fire alarm off or something.
18. I urged Titus and sent our brother with him. Did Titus take advantage of you? Did we not walk in the same ruach, not in the same steps? Again, do you think that we defend ourselves to you? We speak before Yahuwah in Mashiach. But all this, beloved, is for your upbuilding. For I fear lest, when I come, I do not find you such as I wish, and I be found by you such as you do not wish, lest there be strife, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, slander, gossip, puffings up, unrest, and lest when I come again, my Yahuwah should humble me among you, and I shall mourn for many who have transgressed before and have not repented of the uncleanness and whoring and indecency which they have practiced.
Okay, so that's the end of chapter 12. Is there any questions or anybody got any thoughts on that? What we just read? I think most of that is self-explanatory, but it is interesting in 20 where he says, "For I fear least when I come, I do not find you such as I wish." In other words, they're not being obedient. And I be found by you such as you do not wish, something greater than they. You know, like he's almost a semi-God or something, you know. Least there be strife, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, self-ambition, slander, gossip, puffing up, and unrest. And least when I come again, my Yahuwah should humble me among you, and I shall mourn for many who have sinned before and have not repented of the uncleanness. So, what's Paul saying here? Go ahead, Phyllis.
I don't know what he's saying, but my question is, why does he keep coming back to these people if they mistreat him and they don't want him? Why?
Let's let Brother Lou answer that one. Why, Lou? She keep going back and getting beat up on.
You just never give up on anybody, because you never know at one moment Yahushua's going to come and they'll see him in you, and they'll say, "Hey, I've been beating up on this guy, and it's not affecting him. Why is that?" Well, he's our armor, and we aren't feeling this. He takes it all. They destroy your reputation. Some of them stone you when you're trying to do something, and figuratively, and that's all Yahushua. He's our shock absorber on this road, you know.
Lou, I think Mark was probably hoping you would talk a little longer.
Oh, I have no
I
problem.
think he
Go ahead,
froze.
Toria.
I was going to say, I think he froze.
Oh, maybe.
What I was going to say was, because even like our own family, or even our father, Yahuwah, he wouldn't give up on us. We're not going to give up on trying to help, find salvation for our own family. We're going to keep going back because it could be that one. What if there's 50? What if there's 40? What if there's just one? That's why he kept going back. And praise Yahuwah, because somebody went back, and I have Yahuwah because somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody gave me that word.
Me too.
Okay.
The person that brought us in worked us for, I say at least close to a year and a half to 2 years before we finally, he brought us to his fellowship. That's how long he worked on us. And he never pushed us. It was very, very calmly. What finally made us go was he said to us, at our fellowship, the only plate we pass is food. And that was the last thing that made us to go. It was incredible.
And his last.
Did you say truth or food, Brother Raul?
Yeah, I guess he was making a comment like in the Catholics, they pass a plate for you to put money in. So I guess he was saying the only plate we pass is food, because at the end of the fellowship, we would all gather and eat.
Okay, so interestingly here in 21, he says, when I come again, my Yahuwah shall humble me among you, and I shall mourn for many who have sinned before and have not repented of the uncleanness. So there's people in this assembly here that are sinned before and still have not repented, and they're continuing on with their uncleanness and their whoring and their indecency, which they have practiced. So apparently then they don't want to repent. It seems like they've been there long enough to have learned not to sin and to be repent and be obedient. So it seems like they like sinning, and is why they're not have repented. So why are they still tolerating these people? Anybody? Why is this activity being tolerated? Go ahead, Toria.
Because again, I believe that it's tolerated because there could be that one in that wheat in the tares that still could be being raised up.
Very good point. Very good point. Okay, anybody else got any thoughts on this one? Bruce actually made a pretty good reference here for us. He put 1 Peter 4:1 says, "For if you have suffered physically for the Messiah, you are finished with sin." Doesn't it say, we just read that if you're talked about, if you're beaten, if you're in distress, insults, needs, persecutions, distresses for the sake of the Mashiach, you're actually blessed. It's proof that you're worthy to suffer with Mashiach. You realize that we're in the true pattern of Mashiach. We're worthy to suffer with our Master. That makes us part of Him, one with Him. So it's really a blessing. So Yahuwah turns that around and uses it for our good, because we become His bride. We suffer with Mashiach. We're counted worthy to be His bride, man. So this persecution and all this insults and weaknesses and distresses and everything for us is a good thing. So why not accept it? Why not keep going back and getting more insults and more persecutions laid on you, because it makes you more worthy, because you're in the true pattern of suffering as the Mashiach suffered. Isn't that a crazy thought? But scriptural. So if you physically suffer, you're finished with sin. Let's get a look at that, what Bruce is talking about there. It's kind of interesting. Go to that 1 Peter 4. 1. Therefore, since Mashiach suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same mind, because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, so that he no longer lives the rest of his time in the flesh for the lust of men, but according to the desire of Elohim. Wow. Anybody care to elaborate or comment on that? That's pretty powerful stuff right there. Anybody? We all get that? We're all in agreement and understand that? Okay, who wants to read 13 and wrap us up? Who wants to take that last chapter? Go ahead, Toria.
Okay. This is the third time I am coming to you. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word shall be established. I have previously said, and I say beforehand, as being present the second time, and now being absent, I write to those who have transgressed before, and to all the rest, that if I come again, I shall not spare. Since you are seeking of proof of Mashiach speaking in me, who is not weak toward you, but mighty in you. For though he was staked in weakness, yet he lives by the power of Yahuwah. For we also are weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of Yahuwah toward you. Examine yourselves whether you are in the belief. Test yourselves. Or do you not know yourselves that Yahusha Mashiach is in you, unless you are disapproved?
Okay, hold on right there. All right. So this is extremely interesting. So apparently then they have they don't believe that Paul has the real Kodesh in him. They want proof that is the Ruach HaKodesh, the Mashiach in Paul talking. They want proof of it. And so Paul, being a good spin seller, has spun it on them, and he has told them, oh, you want proof the Mashiach is speaking in me, who is not weak toward you, but mighty in you? So you should know, because if you have the same Ruach I do in you, you should know I have the Mashiach, and you're hearing the Mashiach speak. If you hear his voice, then you're his. If you don't hear his voice, then you're not his. And basically what Paul's saying. So he's spinning around saying, oh, you want proof the Mashiach's in me? Test yourself. Find out if he's in you, because if he's in you, you should know that he's in me. And Paul's giving them a little bit of, all right. So it's extremely interesting here. Okay, so examine yourselves whether you are in the belief. Test yourselves. Or do you not know yourselves that Yahushua Mashiach is in you? Unless you are disapproved, if you don't have the Mashiach in you, then how are you going to know that this Mashiach is speaking through me? Is what Paul's saying. So can anyone tell me how you can test yourself? How can you test yourself to know that the Mashiach is in you? What's some of the self-testing we can do?
The wanton obedience to the Torah, to the 10 words, I think, that, and the love of my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot of it, because it's very difficult to do any of those things without his everlasting protection and guidance.
Okay. Go ahead, Shelley.
Feeling the lightness of his yoke. It's a delight. It's a joy.
Okay. Phyllis?
resisting your flesh and doing his will, even though it's something that you wouldn't prefer to do.
Okay. Go ahead, Toria.
Teshuva, one who completely turns away, turns around, complete change.
Change of mind. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, William.
1 Corinthians 3:16. Do you not know that you are a Mishkan of Yahuwah, and that the Ruach of Yahuwah dwells in you? So we're the temple of Yahuwah now since his murder. So if the Spirit, the Ruach of HaKodesh, does not dwell in us, then there's no truth in us, and the truth is the Word. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was Yahuwah. That's how we test it, exactly like Phil was saying.
All right. And so we need to be able to pass the love test. Okay. So what you guys are saying, Phil and William, we test ourselves and see if we love Yahuwah and love others. Are we showing love to others? Are we loving them like we love ourselves? How do we love ourselves? If we're to love others as ourselves, then we need to know how do we love ourselves. So how do we love ourselves? Anybody?
By loving the Mashiach.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ru.
Oh, go ahead.
Ru, did you have your hand up?
I did, but she stole my thunder.
Okay, go ahead, Phil.
By following the instructions, because if we follow the instructions of Yahuwah, then we'll live long upon the earth. And then we will just know how to live their instructions.
How do we love ourselves?
Perhaps when he says to
Yeah.
love our enemy and to do good for our enemy and to pray for our enemy, we can't come into that comprehension that they're deceived also until we can realize that we are deceived. And we can't do that until the Ruach tells us or guides us through the steps of our life and the sin in our life, that we have to remove that. And then, the 10 commandments of love are all included in that. We have to have that understanding of that.
Okay. And so what do we go ahead, Ru?
I think we show love for ourselves by what we're doing now, seeking his truth, gathering, and this shows that we love ourselves.
Say that again.
Okay. By this that we're doing every Shabbat, that we gather, that we want to know more about him, and that shows love for ourselves, because we're trying to find the love of his love for ourselves. Sometimes my language is not good because English is not my first language, so I'm really sorry if I can't explain myself, but I think that what we do every Saturday shows that we love ourselves, because we're trying to find the right life. We're trying to find the right way to act with other human beings. We're searching his love, the way we're searching his walk. We're searching the way he was. And that's what I think that shows that we love ourselves.
So we're told to love others as yourself. And if you want to be perfect, love others more than yourself. Some say, oh, that's impossible. No, it's not.
When you sacrifice, you're showing more love for others than for yourself in anything in life.
Now you're starting to get there. We're starting to get there now. So if we love, go ahead, Toria.
Loving others and forgiving others.
Mhm. Yeah, loving them by forgiving them. You know, and so therefore, to love ourselves, we need to forgive ourselves as well. So if we forgive ourselves, that's how we can love others, by forgiving them too. And that's a good point. So we're starting to get somewhere here with this now. And so, and when we really look at, we need to focus on ourselves to understand how to love ourselves. Go ahead, Phil.
It was impressed upon me probably, and I don't do a lot of negative self-talk, but sometimes when you're really honest and frank with yourself, you tend to belittle yourself. But we're made in His image also. So when we are hard on ourselves up to the point of almost like our own ego, to satisfy our own ego of our own shortcomings, we can be going too far with it. So I think that, like I said again, that the commandments have to be within us for them to be truly, genuinely shared with anybody else. So that's got to be written on our hearts by Yahuwah. And I think He's continually writing them. I don't think they're all written on me for sure, because some of the being patient and with other people sometimes is a very huge challenge for me. And then that's a weakness that I have, probably because of the knowledge, and sometimes it's hard to do. So it's an ongoing process for sure.
So Hayad Dabarim teaches us to love Yahuwah and to love others. But how do we love ourselves in order that we know how to love others as we love ourselves? Go, Shelley.
Some of it, I think it's in 2 Timothy, where you keep your mind on what is noble and pure and trustworthy and true. To that, I wish I knew it better, but I don't. What you are going to feed yourself, you want to feed others with. Yahusha, thank you.
Yeah, you're getting there now. That's exactly right. And so, if we love ourselves, we feed ourselves when we're hungry. If we're thirsty, we give ourselves something to drink. If we're cold, we put on clothes. If we're dirty, we take a bath. We buy a house to live in, so we're giving ourselves shelter. This is how we love ourselves. We need a new pair of shoes. We go down to Walmart and grab a pair. All right? This is how we're loving ourselves. We're taking care of our own bodies by action. So therefore, we all realize then, putting it all together, that love requires action. So to love ourselves, there needs to be action implemented. To love others, there needs to be action implemented. Okay? So everybody turn to Matthew 25, because this is a very important thing. This is what the Ten Debarim teaches us to do. Go to Matthew 25, verse 31. Let's go to 30. 25, 30. To the end of the chapter. Tad, you want to read that for us?
Sure.
25, 30 to the chapter.
And throw the worthless servant out into the outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And when the son of Adam comes in his esteem, and all the set apart messengers with him, then he shall sit on the throne of his esteem. And all the nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the sovereign shall say to those on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the reign prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, and we fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and we came to you? And the sovereign shall answer and say to them, truly, I say to you, insofar as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me. He shall then also say to those on the left hand, go away from me, accursed ones, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Was naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger or naked, or sick or in prison, and did not serve you? Then he shall answer them, saying, truly I say to you, insofar as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting chai.
Okay, so here's a very good example of the sheep were loving others as they love themselves, and an example that the goats didn't have love for anybody. They just had lip service. They were after their own, they were seeking their own agenda, take advantage of people to get what they wanted out of them. They really had no love for them. Otherwise, they would have loved them like themselves, and they did not. Go ahead, Ted.
If we're loving ourselves, we need to remember that we're also loving Mashiach, since we are part of his body, and he is in us and we are in him. So we're loving him just the same if we're loving ourselves.
Right, loving him and his body, which includes all the members of the body. So, big difference in lip service and true love. True love is love in action. Lip service is just for your own esteem or your own agenda. Everybody's seen how you love others as yourself now. It's pretty important, really. Okay, so we passed the love test, which is what we just read. And Matthew 25 is the love test. You better be able to pass the love test, because if you don't, you're in big trouble. That love test is huge. You can be as obedient as you want to be, but if you fail the love test, you're in big trouble. So, we know by examining ourselves, if we, we test on yourself, if you are showing the spiritual fruits or the spiritual gifts, that's a way to know that you have the Mashiach. So your people can see his fruits in you and him working his spiritual gifts through you. And how about keeping Yom Shabbat? If you keep Yom Shabbat, is the Mashiach in you? Yeah. If you don't, and you go out and party on Yom Shabbat, do whatever you want, is the Mashiach in you? No. Go ahead, Phyllis.
That's our covenant sign.
Yeah, that's a big one. That may be the number one test. Are you keeping the Sabbath? To know if the Mashiach's in you. Are you calling on the true name? Are you using his true name? And you're not embarrassed to use it. You use it in front of everyone. You don't shy off. That's a good test. Are you observing the 7 appointed times? There's another good test. Are you speaking with clean lips, putting foul words from your mouth? Stop swearing or using bad language. clean food? Are you obeying the dietary laws? Or are you still eating pork chops? Or ham on Easter? Are you still doing those things? Are you bowing down to idols? Are you still putting up Christmas trees? Are you robing yourself in wardrobes such as witches, goblins, and ghosts, or vampires or witches during Halloween? Are you doing that kind of stuff? Do you know? Do you do what you know is right, even when no one else is watching you? Do you have integrity? Or when nobody's watching, you do what you want? So here's a lot of ways that we can test ourselves. So Paul here dramatically spun this on them and saying, you want proof that Mashiach is speaking in me? Why don't you go test yourself and see if you have him in you before you come asking, seeing if he's talking in me. Obviously, if he was talking, if you don't know, then you don't have him. So you better go test yourself. And you might be doing something wrong yourselves. So he's kind of putting them on the spot here. And probably, probably was much needed, Paul probably already knew that they weren't doing what they should be doing, and he knew they didn't have the Ruach HaKodesh in them. So, very interesting there. Anybody got questions on that? Any further comments? Well, let's continue on then.
Okay, verse 6. And I trust that you shall know that we are not disapproved. And we pray to Yahuwah that you do no evil at all. Not that we should appear approved, but that you should do what is right, even though we should appear unapproved. For we have no power at all against the truth, but for the truth.
Wow. Hang on a minute. What does that mean? For we have no power at all against the truth, but for the truth. So their power lies in the truth. Anybody want to comment on that? That's so powerful.
The truth shall set you free.
Indeed. Go ahead, Rule.
I lost my train of thought, so I'll raise my hand again.
Okay. We have no power at all against the truth, but for the truth. So we didn't have no power against the truth. Go ahead, Rule.
Well, what I'm getting from that is that they have no power against the truth because Yahusha is the truth.
Oh, right on, man. Spot on. Fantastic. Very good, Rule. Anybody else? All right, let's go on then, Toria.
For we rejoice when we are weak, and you are strong. And this also we pray for your perfection. For this reason I write this in my absence, so that being present I should not use sharpness according to the authority which the Master has given me for upbuilding and not for overthrowing. Sorry. For the rest, brothers, rejoice, be made perfect, be encouraged, be of one mind, live in peace. And the Yahuwah of love and peace shall be with you. Greet one another with a set-apart kiss. All the Kodashim greet you. The favor of the Master Yahusha Mashiach, and the love of Yahuwah, and the fellowship of the Ruach HaKodesh be with all of you. So be it.
Okay. So that wraps up 2 Corinthians. Now, amazingly, down here in verse 9, it says, "For we rejoice when we are weak and you are strong. And this also we pray for your perfection." So should we pray for each other's perfection? And what is it? What are we praying for when we pray for each other's perfection? Go, Roll.
To walk in Yahusha's path, his feet, to be exactly like him.
Absolutely. Go ahead, AJ.
I guess to walk in love and be perfected in his grace and his understanding.
Yeah, you hit it. The walk in love, your perfection, be perfect for your Father in heaven is perfect in love. So you were perfecting our love. Because when we perfect our love and we love others as we love ourselves and we love Yahuwah, we have completed the Torah. Okay, we are now his chosen people. We have now entered into the everlasting covenant of love. Yeah, love is the goal. So we need to pray for each other's perfection in love. We all need to perfect love. And how do we perfect love? It's just what Matthew 25 just told us. Our love has to have action. As far as that goes, our belief has to have action to make it a reality. So our love and our peace becomes our reality. And therefore, if it's our reality, then it's what we do. It becomes our life. So our love in action becomes our reality. Belief in action becomes our reality. It's what we do. It becomes our life. It's who we are. And vice versa for those who are the opposite. Go ahead, Toria.
To be set apart.
Yeah.
To walk in the way of to be set apart.
Yeah, be set apart in love, not in sin, not in hatred, not in hate and love and in battles and fighting and wars and all these kind of things. We're set apart from all that, and so instead of partaking in that kind of activity, we partake in love, the activity of love. We have become perfect in love, like our Father, who is love. And so, yes, we should pray for the perfection of the body and for each individual in the body to be perfect in love, the practice of love. Love is who we are. We're made in the essence of Yahuwah. Yahuwah is love. That means we're love. So when we love others as we love ourselves, what have we done? We have found ourselves. We know who we are now. No longer lost. We have found ourselves. We're love, like our Father. Knowledge puffs up, love builds up. So we need to build each other up with love and patience and kindness and gentleness. And love others as you would love yourself. And expect nothing back. And owe no one anything except to love them. This verse down here, the last verse 14 says, "The favor of the Master Yahushua Mashiach and the love of Yahuwah and the fellowship of the Ruach HaKodesh be with all of you." Is this telling us that he's a Trinity? A lot of people point to that and say that proves he's a Trinity. Does it? No. What we're seeing here, reading here, is that the purpose of each row that Yahuwah is playing out, that he's assumed. Yahuwah is one and always will be one. So the purpose of each row, the favor of the Master Yahushua Mashiach, he is the Mashiach, Yahuwah, and the love of Yahuwah, perfection, and the fellowship of the Ruach HaKodesh be with you all. The fellowship of the Ruach is the body of Yahusha, Yahuwah, the fellowship, the brotherhood, if you will. So this is just purposes of each role that Yahuwah is performing for humanity in order to communicate and relate to humanity. Anybody see it any different? Does anybody believe that this proves that he's a Trinity? You know what a Trinity is? It's a being with three, they say it's three deities with one body. Okay, so they're telling you that Yahuwah is a three-headed monster. Does anybody believe that? Does anybody believe that Yahuwah is a three-headed monster? That's what the Trinity is. That's what they're telling you. Three deities, three heads, and one body. And they all work in sync. One blinks, they all blink. One sneezes, they all sneeze. They're in perfect harmony with themselves. So a three-headed monster with one body, and they work in perfect harmony or sequence or sync. I don't see it. I see it as the purpose of each role being defined here. Yahuwah is one. He's not a three-headed monster. All righty. So that wraps up 2 Corinthians, folks. It was a fantastic study. Thank all of you for attending and studying that with me and with each other. Y'all contributed a lot. I'm just totally overwhelmed with all of your spiritual insight up to this point now. I think everybody is really Yahuwah is opening everybody's eyes and ears now, and the spiritual insight is dominating these meetings and studies, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. So I personally believe that we've learned a whole lot through these epistles to the Corinthians from Brother Paul. And it's hard to remember it all, but if we can go back and just you can go back and kind of skim through in your BYNV through the 1 Corinthians and even 2 Corinthians, and you can just skim through there. You can see the black bold passages that Lou put in there can remind you of things and so forth and so on. So I want to open this up now for a summary or conclusion, and I'd like to get it from some other people other than just Brother Lou. Of course, we want to get his at the end. So can everybody contribute and give us a summary or conclusion to these two letters and what you learned? If you have any questions or discussion about it or anything like that, this is what we're looking for now. Go ahead, Rule.
While we were talking, I looked up, and I know Lou does a lot of Beatles music, and there is a song by the Beatles, Love, 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 and it says that nothing can stop you, or you can accomplish anything with love, love, love. And that song came to mind, and I looked up the lyrics, and they're incredible. And because that is basically our mission, that anything and everything can be accomplished through love.
They did another song, Rule, said, all you need is love.
Yes, love is so important.
And what's interesting about that, if you listen to anybody successful and whatever they do, athletics, anything, it's for the love of it. It always is. It's not for the accolades. It's not for the notoriety. It's for the love of action, the love of what you're doing. So it's really pervasive in everything we do. It's so awesome.
And
I think
in a way, Yahusha through Mark, through Luke, are teaching us love.
I think that to sum up Brother Paul, for most of these letters, even though he did not read from the 10 Debarim, that everything he discussed was basically the last 6 commands that he covered all that without actually speaking them, but he discussed them throughout the letters on how we're to not have strife between one another, how we're supposed to love one another, and act towards one another. So I think he really just covered those last 6 very well.
Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, love sums up everything about us, our creation, our children. The world was created out of love. He created us humans out of love, even though he knew beforehand that what humans would do through the first 2. Love had a plan. Love came down to save us, those who want to believe in him. Love encompasses all. And I see that with all the pretty and handsome faces on this YouTube. I just love all of you. And I'm going to say shalom before I start coughing. It gets evening time and I start coughing. So I'm getting over it, but it's still there a little bit. But I love you all. And it's always inspirational to see your faces and know who I'm talking to. I like that picture. Bless it. Yeah, Tad.
I know that you all know that I'm a elementary school teacher, 2nd grade, and every time I correct my students or every direction I give them, I always tell them it's all out of love. And I haven't done that before. I've done it the last couple of years, and the results are so huge. They understand. They're not sure what they haven't been told that. They've been told it maybe in a broad sense, but when I correct them, like one-on-one, I tell you, it's because I love you. And I want the best for you. And I love being here with you. Can't you tell? And they can. They'll shake their head. And yes, it's different type of correction. And it just makes such a big difference in my classroom and their achievement and how they work. Students that hadn't worked in the past, there's only a couple of grades below it, but they work hard in there because they know it's all out of love. So it's huge, definitely huge.
Yesterday, AJ, so what you just last said is very close to what I'm going to say. Yesterday, I was going about things and I started thinking about each of you. And I started thinking about the Natsarim. And I saw each of your faces very clearly. And I started feeling just so overwhelmed with love, as is coming upon me now. And that led to me just dropping to my knees and thanking Yahuwah for bringing me to each of you. And then I realized, I said, Yahuwah, you love me. And you want each of us to love each other. And I think that ties into what we've studied with the 1st and 2nd Corinthians, that his love is made perfect through our weaknesses, our love for each other, and our obedience. And I'm just overwhelmed knowing that I am a part of his body with you guys. So, love you all.
Yeah, and in my former dealings with, as I was a police officer and a United States Marshal, I could tell that the prisoners that I dealt with, that I took to court and I took to, different situations, they could see that love. And I'm not sure how it happened, how I was placed in that position for a while in my life. And then I moved on, but you could tell. I mean, sometimes I would have prisoners that came several times would ask, is that blonde guy going to take me to court? I mean, and of course the other officers were just like, what is it up with you, Dickie? I mean, well, they didn't see it was Yahusha. It's not me. And I had a guy that had 2 life sentences, and I would take him to federal court on different things. And several times he asked, where's that one guy at? Is he going to be taking me to court? And the first time that he did that, I got a phone call because I was doing something else. And they go, hey, Phil, you got a new best friend. He just asked you by name. So 2-time life sentence. And I'm not sure why the head marshal put me with him, but it was directed to, I guess, for him to see that someone treated him with dignity and respect, despite his past sins. And who knows, but he must have seen the light of Yahuwah. It certainly wasn't me. But it's just a really interesting paradox that he would actually ask for me. And of course, they all laughed and thought, good grief, what's going on with you? But they didn't see it through the same eyes as he did. But it's just really interesting that I cared about him and I didn't judge him, because if I were chosen to walk in those same shoes as he was, maybe I would have been worse. You don't know. You can't put yourself in front of anyone, because if you were given that deck of cards, whatever you want to say, you might be worse. So that's all I've ever done. And with, not in myself, of course, with Yahusha, and touched so many lives through love in different ways. And it was not directed on my own. So it's just really an interesting thing that his powers, just, if you let it happen and he guides you, you can touch so many different people without even saying anything about him at all. They see something different and they seek out, they want to know why, through example, through your action of the commandments in your daily walk, how you carry yourself, all those things allow him to shine in a dark, dark world. So just really interesting.
Shalom to Bruce. I'm glad you're here. And Sandra, hi.
Go ahead, AJ.
Oh, I feel the power of the Ruach through all of you. The love, the sharing, of the experiences in our individual life, that's how we know we are of him. When we touch others in a way that we couldn't touch others when we was in the world. Now that we came out of the world by the grace of Yahushua, who brought us out, we have a different task. And that love is real. I don't want to say too much. I'm getting emotional like Shelley.
Yeah, go ahead, Toria. You guys just control your own mics. You don't have to get your hand. Go ahead.
It's just been in me with this study of loving yourself, being forgiving. And yesterday I had an experience at work. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm being compelled to say this. So, again, I'm about doing my business at work, and one of the girls screams that somebody just fell because we have stairs going up to where we're at. So I didn't even hesitate. I just ran out there, and the gentleman was probably about 70 some years old, laying at the bottom of the stairs. And mind you, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 grown men up where I'm at. And when I get there, he's still laying on the ground at the end of the steps. And there's one gentleman standing there. And it didn't really click into who it was because my concern was the gentleman on the ground. And I just told him, don't move. Do you feel like you broke anything? And he said, no. And I said, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to let you rest your back, because he said he had back issues. So I said, we're going to take this slow. We're going to let you rest. And I let him slowly get up and rest on me. Mind you, I'm only about 115 pounds, and this gentleman was probably a good 250. And so I got him to his knees, and he just rested on my chest, and I just rubbed his back. And I said, as soon as you're ready and your back is rested, we're going to get you up. And I kept asking somebody to please, can you have them come help me get him up? I can't get him up on my own. I've broken my back twice. Somebody needs to come. Nobody would come. So I'm flabbergasted, actually. And the next thing I know, one of the other kids that works around the corner comes over, and the gentleman that was standing there and we managed to get him up on his feet, and I got him inside and to sit on a chair and to rest. And then I walked over and asked him, I let him rest for a bit, and I asked him what his needs were that I could help him. And because I work at a dealership, so I went over, there's a rental place that he was there for. He had an extremely hard morning. His car got hit by something on his way to where we were. And so the kindness of hearts of the people that worked in the rental place, I implored them to please come and, come to him and help him, because he can't walk over there. And they did. They came, and it was just amazing for me to see 2 ladies cared enough to come help. But in the same token, I'm seeing people that I work with who wouldn't even budge. And I'm thrown by it, and I just wanted to go talk to my husband. I needed to vent. And I'm telling him I don't understand. I don't know if you call it heartless, or I was just so overwhelmed that how would you not just get up and help somebody? And then at the same time, after I spoke with my husband, I went back to work, and I'm looking at these gentlemen, and there were some comments made, well, I don't know what he has. I couldn't believe that was coming out of his mouth. So at the same time, I had to find forgiveness. And these are people that I work with. I don't know what's going on with them, why they didn't help, but yet I still had to, out of love, forgive in the same situation. So it just kind of reminds me of what we just read. What, when you love somebody, what would you do? you love his children, what would you do? Do you think about it? Do you just get up and do it? And then in the same token, you have to forgive those around you who just didn't have that heart. So I just feel like I was compelled to speak on that, what happened yesterday.
Toria, it seems like there's so many people who are hardened by, let's get sued, let's get what we can out of you, let's, everybody's so afraid of doing something. Everybody's just stifled.
Yeah, it makes you speechless in the moment. How do you just let an elderly man lay on the ground and not even think to just run out there and help? I didn't understand that. And they had started talking about it later on, and I just made a comment that, well, if you fall, don't worry, I will pick you up too. And I just walked away.
Reminds me of Matthew 24. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold.
Mm-hmm.
That it is. That it is.
True.
You see it in the news all the time. You see people being beat up on a sidewalk and nobody helping. It's incredible. Or a cop being beat up and nobody helping him. It's crazy.
But it reminds me of how do you know you love yourself? Because I would, out of love, go and help somebody else no matter what. That's how you know you love yourself. Because you want to do the will of the Father. You want to serve his children. You want to help. You want to, I don't know what it's going to do for them later on, or their thoughts about it later on, or the gentleman who is in need. I don't know. But, the Father had that for some reason.
I just wanted to say he has his children everywhere. When he knows who won't, or what is not in a person, to love a person, another human being, to help another human being when they fall down. But he had you there, Toria, and he sent you help from somebody else.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago, I don't look for those who I expect to help me, which I used to do. There's always somebody you don't expect to help you. And that's Yahuwah.
Yeah.
Sending them. No matter where we are in this universe, he always sends somebody. It's just like having 4 children. 2 of them don't call their mama or visit, but once in a while. But you have 2 that show up and call all the time. When one don't, the other will. The Father have someone somewhere to assist his children, or his children assist someone that has fallen.
Doria, thank you for sharing that, by the way. And I think it's really important that we read Yahusha's message connected to your story, Doria. Tad, can you turn to Luke 10? Luke 10, everybody. Start at verse 25, please. Luke 10, 25. And stop at 37. 25 to 37, Ted, if you don't mind.
And see, a certain one learned in the Torah stood up, trying him, and saying, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit everlasting life? And he said to him, What has been written in the Torah? How do you read it? And he answering said, You shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, you have answered rightly. Do this, and you shall live. But he, wishing to declare himself just, said to Yahusha, and who is my neighbor? And replying, Yahusha said, a certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and fell among robbers, who, both stripping and beating him, went away, leaving him half dead. And by a coincidence, a certain priest was going down that way. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise, a Levite also, when he came to the place and seeing, passed by on the other side. But a certain Shomeronite traveling came upon him. And when he saw him, he had compassion on him. And he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And having placed him on his own beast, he brought him to an inn and looked after him. And going out on the next yom, he took out 2 pieces of silver, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, look after him, and whatever more you spend, I shall repay you when I return. Who then of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the robbers? And he said, he who showed compassion on him. Then Yahusha said to him, go and do likewise.
Okay, that got me choked up. So here we this is obviously the parable of the Good Samaritan that most of us are familiar with that. But notice here down in verse 40 or 35 when he says he took out 2 pieces of silver and to look after him, and whatever you spend I shall repay when I return. So these 2 pieces of silver are shadowing 2 days, or the next 2 millenniums, 2,000 years, and Yahushua will be back to get, and he's going to come back and redeem all, and he will pay, redeem for his property. And it's a connection to Hosea 6.
Period. I
Prophet.
certainly hope that comes true. Period.
Okay. And so this here is, I think, is what you experienced, Toria, and very powerful experience. And likewise, any of us experience something like that, we should act according to what is teaching us to do. So we don't want to be like the priest and passing by, or the Levite and passing him by. Okay, we want to be like the Good Samaritan. And at this point, when we do act that way, the way Toria responded to this situation, what's happening here, she is seeing others from Yahuwah's eyes. She's seeing them as Yahuwah sees them, with love. And this is a good indicator that she has the Ruach HaKodesh, right? That's a good thing to observe someone doing, and then so they pass the love test. Okay. All right. I'll turn it back over to you guys. I just want to interject there for a minute. It was pretty impressive, I thought.
Thank you, Toria. I'm so glad that led to the scripture that we just heard. That was amazing. And Phyllis, I agree with you. Everybody seems to be, well, not everybody, I have to be careful with my words, but a lot of people seem to be frozen, afraid to act. I see it around me quite frequently for various reasons. You know, we don't know, each one has their own reason. And so I think now more than ever, obviously, I know we all know this, that we need to be shining our light and giving our love, 1,000 times fold or whatever than what we may have done previously. There's so much darkness right now. We need more light. And there are so many people, I think, who are, you know, I'm curious, Toria, what some of your coworkers may have thought about later that night. You know, hopefully, you know, I think, wow, I hope one of them questioned themselves. You know, why didn't I do anything? You know, hopefully that spawned something, you know, for somebody to go deeper. I'm hoping Yahuwah will work with that. And I think to a phrase I have heard before where somebody said it just takes one person. You know, sometimes people are just waiting for someone to do something, and then they will also follow suit in a loving way. And it's just, I don't know if I'm supposed to reactivate. I don't know. I started a Facebook page years ago, and somebody will have to help me with what year it was. I think it was a school here. It was a really bad shooting, and I know there's so many of them, sadly, but it was Parkland Heights. I can't remember. It was a shooting. And when that happened, something in me prompted to start this Facebook page called Love in Action. And I was trying to encourage everyone to remember love and get back to love, and that it is an act. It's very easy in this life that we are in, especially now, to think that love doesn't exist. And there are a lot of people who don't know what love is, whether it be with Yahuwah or without Yahuwah. They don't even know what love is. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of abusive home environments that people have grown up in. And so their concept of love and even a concept of a father is really skewed, and that affects how they take on the scriptures. I don't really know where to go from there, but I guess just emphasizing how important love is right now.
Thank you for that.
Okay, anybody want to take a shot at giving us a summary of our study in the epistles of Corinthians? Anything that can you like start from First Corinthians and make it flow to the end of Second Corinthians and just give us a overall summary? Anybody want to give that a shot? Like I said, I like to take the advantage of what Lou did here in the BYNV with these bold letters, these dark black bold letters, and I start reading just those and keep going through there, and it kind of puts you into a gives you a context, and if you're interested, you can stop and read the whole chapter, but I find it very powerful just to go through all the bold writing through a letter and come up with a lot of stuff. But it does put, kind of gives you a good summary as well. And so if you don't have a lot of time to read, but you feel like you want to read, just do that. I do it quite often, actually. But usually I start reading more than just the bold. And before I know it, I've been reading for 4 hours, and the day's gone. So you want to take a shot? Go ahead. Who? Tad? Oh, AJ? I thought your throat hurt. Go ahead, man.
No, too. Well, it was. I think Yahushua would want me to say one more thing. Well, I can't sum it all up. I'll sum up some things. Somebody else could take it from there. I was thinking, watch the false emissaries, those that come into your love feast. Stay where we are called, how we were called, Don't venture out too far. And remember, love conquers all. And just stay humble. Remember the important things that we need to do. He took off all the other things that he didn't like us to do that we found out, running around, whatever that was, going here, hanging out there. But reminding them who they are in Yahushua. We can't forget who we are in Yahushua HaMashiach. Thank you.
Very good, AJ. You did that verbatim, man. Good job. Anybody else? Go ahead, Ro.
I think AJ hit it on that in more words, but in one word, it's love. If you conduct all it's all about Paul's love for the word of Yahushua and getting it out there and showing people how to love. I mean, it's all about love.
Yeah, absolutely. The center point probably is 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter, right? Which gives us a definition of Yahuwah, defines Yahuwah for us, and also defines us, right? Once truth finds love, once we find love, we understand that we're made in the essence of Yahuwah, who is love. So we found ourselves. We're love. That's who we are. Find yourself, man. Put love into action and find out who you really are. Very good, Ro. Powerful, man. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Phyllis, did you have your hand up? I'm just kidding. Okay. Anybody else before I turn it over to Brother Lou?
Oh, thank you. It's been amazing today. Absolutely. But when you brought up the highlighting that I put into this, it was just guided by Yahusha. I just saw these words and I made them what he was screaming louder in my head. And it was really him. I didn't do it. It's maybe my hands did, but I kept telling Phyllis that I feel like he's put me on like a glove. It's not me. I'm just the skin and he's in it and he's working through it because I was begging him to tell me what he wanted us to know. And we weren't getting it from the uninspired teachers that other translators had done very good work, but they didn't have his heart. And I think 1 Corinthians is if you were to sum it up, it's about the battle between doing what you want and what he wants, and they never get taught to do what he wants because they're always told to don't obey the commandments. That's for someone else. Well, that's because they don't have his spirit. Otherwise, they would be all over those commandments, and the commandments are all over them because he's the teacher, and he envelops us and makes us love obedience. And that obedience is really what Paul was seeing, these divisions and going, hey, these people, they don't get it yet. They're still in the milk mode. They're not getting the solid food. And he was trying to wake them up and shake them up and realize that they're standing on a foundation. And that foundation has to be Yahusha. No one else, no teachers. I follow this guy. I follow that guy. This guy's got a better calendar than you do. What are you standing on? Not reality. Reality is not fantasy and divisions and hate and all that. But when Toria was telling her story, lots of stuff was emerging out of both of these letters. And people are not helping. And like you were saying, Mark, the flesh is the battle. That's the mind is the battlefield. And this comes out very clearly in 2 Corinthians 2. But 1 Corinthians is this battle with the flesh. Should I do something? And when Toria was telling that story, she was running immediately as soon as she heard what was happening, what needed to be done. And she wanted to just be there as a backup, probably. But that's what we do. We just support, back up. Is there anything that we can do? And we just give them room and then move in and say, I'm here, and it's Yahusha. That's who it is. And then you got this battle has to be overcome, this divisiveness over the calendar. There goes my voice. It's gone.
You take a break and get a drink of water, Lou? Go ahead, man. I'll take over. Okay, so what I was suggesting here for y'all, taking advantage of Brother Lou's bold assertions here, I'll give you a little example of it, and just go to 1 Corinthians 1. And so I just look down here and I see the bold things, and I say, and that there be no division among you, has the Mashiach been divided. For Mashiach did not send me to immerse, but to bring the Basora. And so this gives me an idea. Okay, has the Mashiach been divided? Is there no divisions among? There should be no divisions in the body. So this tells me right away divisions are illegal. So that's set that. Now I can stay there and read more about it if I want to, or continue on. But I get the context. Hey, its divisions are illegal. Okay. So then as I keep going down, now I'm in chapter 2. I say, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered into the heart of man what Yahuwah has prepared for those who love him. But we have the mind of the Mashiach. So this is telling me quite a bit. This is talking about rewards for the Natsarim, so forth and so on. But each one should look how he builds on it, for no one is able to lay any other foundation except that which is laid, which is Yahushua Mashiach. And do you not know that you are the temple of Yahuwah, and that the Ruach of Yahuwah dwells in you? So this is cluing me in here now that the one solid foundation is Yahusha, and that we are the temple of Yahuwah, and that the Ruach of Yahuwah dwells in you. And so we house the Ruach HaKodesh. See what I'm saying? And I just go through the whole thing like that, determine where I want to stop and keep reading or just continue on. But it gives me a really good outline of the context of each chapter. And so that's how I use those bold letters. Go ahead, Lou. You back? You recover?
I'm a lot better. Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, maybe it was Yahusha wanted you to say that, because I was reading that earlier too, that same bold print that you were reading. But I didn't ever see this before, going through the scriptures like this, to just look at the highlights, and it sort of sums up the content. But helpfulness is also what love is. When you're loving someone, even someone stranger that just comes on the scene, and they need your help. They need anybody's help, but you're put there by a higher authority than yourself. You didn't know it was going to happen. They didn't know it was going to happen, but Yahusha puts people there to help, and he knows it's going to be there. And because he's already there in the future, and he's everywhere in time as well. So he sees it ahead of time. He's not really seeing it ahead of time. He's there. We're just passing through time, but he's time itself. And this makes it all the better to trust in him. And when help is needed, it's his help that you're really receiving. But we help others through his providence. He provides for us. And he provides other people to help us all the time. Messengers are sent. We read about it in Scripture that messengers were sent during the book of Daniel. And like you say, 1 Corinthians 13 really sums it up. It covers all the departments where love acts, how love looks, and that he is the love. And it's just amazing. it's really a clear thing when you look at it spiritually. But you see, the First Corinthians letter was pointing out their fleshly perspectives when they needed to have the Ruach and look with that perspective all the time through everything. And when things look like they're going sideways, hang on, because some help is coming. Something's going to work out, and it's going to be for the best. And then moving into the 2 Corinthians, there's a whole lot going on there too. And some of the most powerful things we've ever discussed was today when we were reading towards the end. And Paul's his perspective of himself is on the defensive, it seems, but then again, he's using that as an example for other people mostly. And he's trying to show humility and to point everything to Yahusha, because it's really not Yahusha. He has the spirit of Yahusha in him. He has the Ruach. And it's not, he doesn't boast. He doesn't want to boast what Yahusha is doing through him, because we're all part of one body, and we need to react to the spirit that we see operating in the body, not to look at the individual or to give them praise or let them boast about it. You can't do that. We have to be the servant if we want to be the greatest, but we don't really want to be the greatest. That's not we don't want to be great. We want him to be great. And his power that he shows through the weak people, the people who seem weak, his power is even greater, because while we're humbling ourselves, that's when he's at his greatest power. And we don't humble ourselves for show. We humble ourselves because we let him do everything. And that puts us in our place. When we think we're great or we know something, we don't know anything. We're just nobodies. But we are somebodies because of who dwells in us. But we don't boast for that. We just say, hey, stand back, give them room, let them speak. And that's what's so great about this letter. The ability for the group to be able to talk individually. Each one has a teaching. This is something that comes out in these letters. And that popped out in my head very early. And I said, hey, we're not doing that in these circuses. This guy's talking up front behind a lectern, and he's not saying much. I'm not learning much, but we're learning here because the teacher is in the whole group. And that's what Paul's telling us. He's in us, and Mashiach is in us. And when one of us speaks, the others listen, because they're not listening to that person. We're listening to Yahusha speaking through us. That is what's so fantastic. And Phyllis and I sit and watch the shows that Mark puts up. And quite often, she or me will turn to each other and say, that's not Mark talking. That's Yahusha. It's so wonderful. And I can't get over the way that this group is developing. It's amazing. You are all very special and very intensely loved by Yahusha.
Thank you, Brother Lou. Anybody else? Go ahead, Roll.
I would like to share an email that I received this morning. I have a friend that we've known each other since we're 7 years old, when our families immigrated to this country. So I finally got the courage because we both went to Jesuit schools just like Lou. So I finally gathered, I guess, the courage to tell him of that I am now a Natsarim, right? And I explained to him because he calls me for my birthday every year since I don't know how long. He could be anywhere in the world, and he's called me from China, and so he's very special to me. So I told him about that I still follow the Father and the Messiah, but through Hebrew roots. I study both Old and New Testament. So I'm going to read to you his answer to me because I think it was heartwarming. He goes, Raul, I respect your beliefs, but what I most respect and cherish is our lasting friendship. Thank you for letting me know. And the fact that you have told me only makes our friendship ever stronger, knowing that you have cared enough to tell me, love you, my friend, and I'll always will. It softened my heart because I've had other reactions too when you share. So I just wanted to let you guys know.
That is quite a blessing.
Thank you for sharing, Earl.
That's encouragement. That's beautiful.
Thank you for sharing, Ru. That's cool. That's a blessing.
It gives you more courage to share it more. And maybe that's what Yahusha was telling me through this email.
That's right. Because he don't want you to stop. We know we're going to hit some walls sometime, but it's the walls that break down that give us the more joy.
All right. Well, y'all are thinking about what you want to say. I guess next week we'll continue on with Pauline epistles, and we'll begin Galatians. We're just going to go right through them. They get shorter and shorter as we go through. I mean, some are short, some are a little long. And I think we'll just continue through all of Paul's letters and just get them out of the way, even where he addresses individuals like Timothy and Titus and stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and include Hebrews. We're going to credit Hebrews to Paul and get into that as one of Paul's letters. Personally, I don't think Paul wrote Hebrews, but that's just me. Okay, that's just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinion. There's a lot of books and letters in scriptures that they don't really know who wrote them. The circuses, the uninformed teachers, if you will, the scholars, whatever you want to call them, they're just assuming. They're taking and assuming that, and they'll crediting it to John or whoever, but they really don't know. And sometimes the author is mentioned in the book or the letters, and so they're correct, even though they're using substitute names. Some they just don't know. So they think Paul wrote them or John wrote them or whatever, and they credit it to that person. It should say author unknown, but they don't do that. They say that, but then they credit it to somebody. So we'll go ahead and play along and credit Hebrews to Paul, and we'll include that in our study. And I think it's very important to get the reciprocation through the letters where Paul repeats certain messages to different groups or different people, but the same message, and sometimes in a little different way. But of course, there's always much more information to other assemblies as we go through it. So I think that's what we'll do. That's the plan. If you guys are game and you want to do that, we'll do it. I don't know if I've ever been part of this type of study, but it's really kind of turning out to be very powerful. And I can see the results of our efforts. Who is rewarding the Natsarim with his Ruach for sure. So that's what we'll do. Next week, we'll get into Galatians then, which is maybe his most misunderstood letter of all, really. That's debatable. But the circuses love to go to Galatians for some reason. They can play games in Galatians all day long. So it's a critical read and study, a very powerful one. So, try to, if you can, to attend. Don't miss it. Because, like I said, the circuses go there a lot. There's only 6 chapters. It's a short one. So you'll definitely be confronted with Galatians as you give testimony and witness to others. It's going to come up for sure. They go there 90% of the time. Okay. Anybody else got anything to say now? I'm just trying to fill in. All right. Brother Lou, can you give us your conclusion then, brother, up to this point, and take us out with the priestly blessing, if you will?
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to point out that these are available, even though they're long. I'd like to point out that you can share these videos, the teachings, and they're up online. They're permanently up now, because after the information gets out there about the Natsarim, people are going to be searching, and you can share this video with a link with a little pound sign and put Natsarim in it, and everybody that's looking up Natsarim will see things like this in the search words, and they'll investigate and look in on Natsarim talking to each other. And that's what this really is. But the overarching message, I think, in Thessalonians is about the flesh and the mind of the flesh and the mind of the spirit contrasted. And we've got the pattern of dividing up because of little ideas that people have, and people saying, I'm better than you. and it's all silly, because Yahusha is holding everybody up. He's got us all. And we're not to look at each other. We're to look for him in each other. That's what we're supposed to do. And I'm looking forward to Galatians. There's going to be so much to learn, for all of us. And go forward this week and try to find opportunities to help people. That's what real love is. It's active love. Active love is active helping, and help people get through one day. It's all it takes. And it might make a huge difference in someone's eternity. Yahuwah bless you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show kindness to you. Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. So they shall invoke my name on the children of Yisrael, and that I myself will bless them. Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah.
Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you all. I love you all.
Thank
You,
you.
thank you.
Thank
Love,
you.
Love you.
love is all you need.
Thank you
Be
very
blessed,
much.
everybody, and be careful and walk softly.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Love you.
So long, beloved of
Shalom.
Ooh.
So long, beloved of Yahuwah. Hi, Lou. Hang on there a minute.